Remember his
Welcome
movie?
in. I appreciate you. Pika, welcome in. Hello, I hope you're doing well. Hi, Purple Crystal. Hi, Piano. Thank you guys for being here. Sweetie, thank you for your help and thank you for being here.
Hey.
Sounds good. And you look gorgeous. You guys are so sweet. Stop. I feel so like, I feel so hot. Okay.
So today, guys, I'm gonna be part of
love
a
you, Riz.
panel.
I know that's so sweet.
Trying
If
not
you guys
to,
like,
you know,
made a
speak over
account
purples and
just
stuff.
to watch this panel, like,
And
I freaking
gonna
love you
be
so much,
collaborating
and I
with
cannot
some
believe
people
that
on
you guys
the
did that
Twitch Sun Guild.
just for
And
us.
I don't know if you guys can notice, but we have a new setup.
Let me pull up my panel notes. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to do this, which is a rare autoimmune disease. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. It was kind of my idea. I can't give myself all the credit because I had but yeah, it's so fun. Okay, so why am I doing this panel? Give me 1 second. Okay, so the reason why we're doing this panel right now is because rare disease patients deserve recognition and awareness and support. You guys know that rare diseases don't get as much. It doesn't get talked about as much as common conditions do. So that's why I thought it was really important to do this today. And also, I do have the screen where I'm going to introduce the panelists as well and let them introduce themselves, share their pronouns, and give themselves a brief little about me bio. So please be respectful and kind to them. All right, y'all. All right, y'all, you're in. All right, y'all. All right, y'all, you're in.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, 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 hello.
Is this sim working? 1 2 1 2.
All right, if you guys could, we'll start with Triple. We'll just go down like this: Triple, Ashleyna, then Sunder. But Triple, if you want to start us off with introducing yourself and your condition and your pronouns, we would love to hear and get to know you better.
Sure thing. Hi, it's AAA Gaming. Most people call me by my name, Trip. I use they, them pronouns. I'm primarily a roguelike content creator. Indie variety, essentially. And I will be talking about my experiences with Marfan syndrome.
Uh-oh, we're having some tech difficulties.
You guys can't hear them? Hold on, give me 1 second. Sorry. You guys can't hear them? Hold on. Sorry. Let me see. Oh, hold on. Give me 1 second. All right, you guys, don't worry. This was on me. I'll take full responsibility for that. I have a new scene. I have a new scene that I set up. Okay. Wait. Okay. Sound check. I have a new scene that I set up. Okay.
Check 1 2 3. Check 1 2 3.
All right, guys, pretend like we didn't hear that. All right, go ahead, guys. Trip, go ahead and introduce yourself again. Trip, go ahead and introduce yourself again.
It's AAA Gaming here on Twitch. They, them pronouns. I do roguelikes primarily, indie content, indie variety for the most part. And I'll be talking about my experiences with Marfan syndrome.
Awesome. Hello, friends. My name is Ashleyna. You might know me as Ash, or others might know me as the Hallow Queen. I've been streaming on Twitch for
comfortable, and I felt like it was truly a safe space for us to like just vent about it and talk about it, because autoimmune diseases don't get talked about enough. So that's really why I wanted to include her here, for all of you who also have autoimmune diseases, to like go and give all these folks, AAA Gaming, Ashleyna, and Slender, a follow, because I think that it's really important to find community, and it's important for us to be able to vent and talk about things like this, especially with like not everyone can afford a therapist and talk about things like this, and finding community is one of those things that do help like people. So that's why I added Ashleyna. So if anyone tries to say, oh, that's not a rare disease, It's also for like the recognition of her Hashimoto's as well. And there's a lot of people here on Twitch who actually do have Hashimoto's and don't talk about it enough because they feel like it's not a space to talk about it. But yeah, I just wanted to give that little disclaimer. And also, guys, disclaimer, we are not professionals. We are not doctors. If you guys are here looking for like a freaking diagnosis or advice, this is not the place. We're just talking about our experiences. I do highly recommend, if you're able to and have the means to, go see a doctor about things like that. Do not take any thing from us outside of just like our experiences and what we've learned and things like that. We are not professionals. Just a little disclaimer. And then Slender will go ahead. Yeah, I'm not a doctor, by the way. Slender, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Whoops. Hey guys. Anyway. Hey guys, my name's Slender, Monk, however you guys want to call me. I've actually been trying to get rid of the 06, but that'll come at some point. And I'm going to be talking about my experiences with something called agenesis of the corpus callosum. Not necessarily autoimmune disease, but it is a rare brain malformation. So hope to be of some help to you guys.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, technical difficulties are part of the experience. That is so fine. We've never, by the way, I've never used this stream together function before, so I'm learning as well. But yeah, the rare disease patients deserve recognition. Also, Slender Monk, just because you don't have an autoimmune disease doesn't mean that you're any less important to this panel, because it is just rare diseases, period, not just autoimmune disease. It just works out for me because I have a rare autoimmune disease. But yeah, it's not, you're not any less like valid and valued. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Go ahead. Sorry, Trip.
I was going to chime in. Marfan syndrome is not autoimmune, though it does have some symptoms that resemble autoimmune disorders. So, not all
I've never heard. All right. So, yeah, we just want to spread awareness and maybe just spread support for anyone else out there who is also dealing with the same things. Because I know there's a couple of you warriors in chat too. Still an amazing panel. Thank you. Okay, guys. So, what is your diagnosis? We kind of already got into this, but how long, Trip, for you did it take you to get diagnosed?
To get the diagnosis of Marfan syndrome on my paperwork took over 10 years.
Dang.
Yeah. I was first prognosed with it at, I want to say I was 13, and I'm now 24, and I got it officially, 9 years. I got it on my paperwork 2 years ago, finally. Because testing for Marfan syndrome is incredibly difficult since it requires specialized DNA testing. And it's also very rare. So it took a while to find a doctor who would not only test me for it, but who knew enough about it to run me through the pre-DNA testing, like basically the symptom tree, to make sure I had enough symptoms for them to send my DNA to a special lab to get it done.
Okay. Can you also, Trip, can you type out your condition in chat just for any of those who are like wondering like how to spell it or how to like
Absolutely.
look it up? Okay, perfect. And then, so it took you 10 years. That's crazy. That's like all part of the process, isn't it? Marfan syndrome. There you go. Yeah, if anyone's wondering what Trip's condition is, there it is right there in chat. Hi, Glitch Doll.
One thing I'd like to mention, like kind of he read it here at the top, is I'm really glad you made this panel, because Marfan syndrome, if you just kind of look online at resources, you will find a bunch of misinformation about what Marfan syndrome is.
Oh.
Because cases of it vary so incredibly in severity of symptoms that there's just a lot of straight up misinformation out there.
Did they, when you had a specialist come in, how long did it take you for them to find you a specialist? I'm sorry.
I actually didn't. I don't even live in the same state where I got my specialist initially, because when I lived in Ohio, there was not a Marfan syndrome specialist in the state. Period. There just wasn't one.
Dang. Okay. So did you have to travel and?
Yes, I had to. I went to Michigan to find a Marfan syndrome specialist.
Oh wow, dang. Okay. And you were at this time. How old were you at this time when you were
Uh,
traveling back and forth?
I got to do math now. 21
Okay.
is when I started seeing the Marfan syndrome specialist.
Yeah, that's like a part of the experience with rare diseases, conditions, and things like that. Is like there's really not specialists, because I have like a similar story to that as well. Like it's just so underlooked. Like they kind of like skim about it in like a textbook or something, but no one really like actually knows 100% about it. And when you want patient education as well, Trip, I'm sure you wanted like patient education from like your primary physician or something like that, and then probably was hard for you to get it too until you seen your specialist. That's how it was for me.
Big time. I was actually like first suggested that I might have. I got my prognosis from a doctor who wasn't my primary, so I went to my primary to ask about it, and my primary hadn't heard of the disease at all.
Oh wow, yeah. See, that's wild. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry that you had to experience that, but I'm glad that you were able to like go and find somebody, you know?
Oh yes, I'm very glad I did too.
It's crazy. All right, Ashley, what about you? How long did it take you to get your diagnosis?
First of all, I just want to say, holy heck and heck, Triple. That is wild. That is something that we kind of see across the board as like a commonality between getting diagnosis is a lot of primary doctors do not know what these diseases are. They don't know how they operate. There's not a lot of knowledge. So like that kind of shocked me when my primary doctor didn't know what Hashimoto's was or enough about it to really help me through the process. That was kind of shocking to me. So I definitely like, at least in my life, I want to try to advocate for, the medical industry to try and learn more about these diseases. I will say also the the reason why it took me so long to get diagnosed, it took me over a year to get diagnosed. Um and it was an incredibly difficult time for me just because I have all of these symptoms, all of these things are wrong with me, but I don't have anyone that knows what's going on. They like to say it was anxiety. They like to say it was depression. They didn't really like go into depth with me about what it could possibly be. Um, and that is something else that I've noticed, like when doing my own research and researching other diseases, because like it does interest me. I wonder why our bodies go through this and why our bodies do this. And I think something, the reason why it's a little bit difficult to like get a diagnosis is because a lot of diseases, well, more specifically autoimmune disorders, all of our symptoms kind of go across the board.
Right.
We all kind of experience the same things. And I think that's why like it takes them so long to diagnose. But anyways, yeah, it took me over a year. My doctor just kept blaming it on depression and anxiety, which at the time, yes, I was experiencing anxiety and depression, which by the way, trigger warning, like there will be mentions of depression and anxiety in this panel. But I knew to my core that it wasn't just that. There was something seriously wrong with my body and it was not good. And I went to 3 different doctors and the third one finally listened to me after crying. I shouldn't have had to cry, but I like begged her essentially to listen to me, like, please help me. And they found out that I had Hashimoto's disease. And I'll spell it in chat too. For
Oh, yes,
anyone.
please.
Yeah, for anyone who wants to look it up. And I try to like spread as much awareness on Hashimoto's disease as possible because it's so important that like obviously if you can afford it, but it is so important to try and get your blood work done at least once a year. So I always try to remind folks because your thyroid, it's a big part of your body. It's a huge, it's the powerhouse of your body. And for anyone who's curious about what Hashimoto's disease is, it is an autoimmune disorder in which my immune system attacks my thyroid, more so the hormones that my thyroid secretes. So my thyroid is in charge of hair, skin, nails, depression, anxiety, mental health, mental health things. My digestive system, my stomach, like it's the powerhouse of my body. And so anytime my thyroid tries to make hormones to essentially make my body work, my immune system attacks it. So, anyways, that's just a little bit about Hashimoto's. I know I just talked for literally forever, but Liz, I appreciate you like talking about like how you were able to be yourself in my community, because that's very important to me. These are real things. These are real things that happen to people. And I just like to try and provide a space where we can just be real with each other.
Yeah.
But anyways, sorry, like I said, I just talked for literally forever. Okay.
No, don't be sorry. That's like what everyone wants to hear. And also too, I've met like a couple of streamers already too, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I have autoimmune disease too. I have Hashimoto's." And I was like, "Oh my God, like talk about it more. Like you should definitely," because they just, sometimes, well, it's
Right.
every streamer has their own set of rules, but I feel
Right.
like sometimes people think that like they're trauma dumping, which I mean, like I said,
Right.
respect streamers' rules. That's their rules that they make up, and you should always respect them. But it definitely should be spoken about more. Like we always tell like our friends when we're having like a sad day or a bad day, when people ask how are you, you should feel like comfortable enough to be like, oh, my autoimmune disease is making me feel like XYZ.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's
Yeah.
so important, you
Yeah.
know?
Agreed.
All right, Slender Monk, what about you? When did you get diagnosed? Or how long did it take you to get diagnosed?
Okay, think this is working now. Sorry about that. I had a
No,
few tech issues, but I think I've managed to
is it
fix it now.
part?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I had
it's fine.
So I was diagnosed with the Genesis when I was about a year and a half old. I didn't really know that I had it until I was like, what, 23, 24? And that's just because my parents refused to tell me. Us being Hispanic, you know how our parents are like, hey, you need to work through all of this stuff and everything. So my parents knew. I was medicated for a while, but yeah, I was diagnosed when I was like a year and a half. They told my mom, "Hey, you guys won't know how bad it is or how much it's gonna affect your child until he's about 8 years old." And my mom's like, "Really? Till he's 8 years old?" They're like, "Yep." And she's like, "Hmm. So what exactly is it?" And the way that I like to explain genesis of the corpus callosum is we have the two sides of the brain, right? So our left side, well, I think it's flipped, right? Oh, our right side and our left side, and in the middle we have a little bundle of nerves, and those nerves help us connect our left side and our right side. And for this panel, I did end up doing a little bit more reading because I'm like, I want to be able to talk about my experience, but also give you guys a little bit more of substance. So some of the side effects are seizures and stuff like that, but precisely because I don't have like that bundle of nerves. I have what's called the full agenesis, not partial. So that bundle of nerves, sorry, as you guys can see, I jump through uh, hoops when I'm explaining. That bundle of nerves serves as a communication route between your left brain and your right brain. And uh, I, I was diagnosed very young, and my mom was like, "So what's gonna be the problem?" So socialization, when we talk about my motor skills, all of those things, which yes, like having this social conversation that we're having right now, should it's not that it should be non-existent, but it should be a much harder thing to do. And yeah, so I don't I don't drive simply because I get too nervous and things, so
It's
I can't
understandable.
be so different things like that yeah, it's shown up in my life, but not super prominent, precisely because my parents were like, "Hey dude, you got this. We're not gonna let you know, but we'll work with you to go through it." And yeah, that's me.
That must have been really hard. Oh my gosh. Like you said I'm sorry, could you just so you said your parents didn't really tell you and didn't give you the information because you were like 8 years old at the time?
No, they didn't tell me till I was like, what, 23, 24?
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh.
They knew at a very young age that one of the like big things that they were worried about is that I was gonna be behind. Since I don't have that connection, I won't pick up when it's like learning things and everything. It takes me, depends. If I really like the subject, I'll pick it up like that. If I'm struggling with understanding, it'll be a while. Hey, Big Ish. Welcome in, welcome in. Sorry, I saw somebody come in from my community.
You're okay.
But yeah, so that's some like super huge. My mom worked with me a lot when it came to puzzles, trying to be ahead of the game whenever I started school, so that I wouldn't feel so so I wouldn't fall behind. Even then, my let's see, even then I had help at school, and they even told them, "Hey, do you want him to be in the special needs classes? Because he might benefit." And they're like, "You know what? It might help him, but it also might hurt him in the sense that he'll pick up on different ticks that the kids might have, and he'll make those ticks his own, and then that's a whole other that's a whole other story."
Yeah.
Sorry,
wow.
I talk too much.
No, that's what this panel is all about. Do not be sorry. Quit apologizing. I think that's really crazy too, that you weren't told. Did you have seizures when you were younger as well?
No, actually, that was one of the things that didn't show up for me, the seizures. I was pretty surprised because I had read over it and I'm like, oh, interesting. Like I have all of these other things, but one that particular symptom never showed up for me.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you didn't have to experience seizures, especially at a young age, because that could have been like very difficult for you. But thank you so much for answering. All right, so with me, I have you guys you guys already know. I have linear scleroderma. I was diagnosed when I was 5 years old. It was easier for them to diagnose me because it's very visual. So like I have my scar on my head and then my nose is crooked. There's tightening of the skin. So the doctor like looked at me and then did some research and was like, "Oh, she has linear scleroderma." So I've been diagnosed ever since I was a little girl, honestly, and it was a little bit worse though. The way it looks had like that silvery like skin right here, but I think now that I grew up in California, it was always like sunny and stuff like that. It kind of just faded away, but yeah, I was diagnosed at a really young age, so that was that. Hold on, don't miss chats in your community. Okay, sorry. I don't know. There's like a bunch of pop-ups coming up on my chat. All right, y'all. So now, what symptoms do you experience and how does it affect your daily life? You guys kind of already talked about it, but I kind of want to go more in detail about your guys' symptoms and how they affect your life. So, Trip, do you want to start us off?
Sure, absolutely. Marfan syndrome comes with its. I didn't actually mention what Marfan syndrome does, so that'll help make the symptoms make a little more sense. Marfan syndrome is a rare connective tissue disorder, and my connective tissue is incredibly brittle, but hypermobile. So it can stretch a lot, but fall apart very easily. It causes a bunch of problems. Currently, I use a wheelchair due to the extreme amount of pain that it takes to walk because from years of being an athletic child, I stretched out all that connective tissue and a lot of it ripped. So walking is incredibly painful. It also causes it affects all of the connective tissue in your body, including the connective tissue in the aorta in your heart. So I get pretty bad chest pains, and I have to get that checked very frequently by doctors to make sure my aortic tissue is intact. In the brain, yes, there's more. In the brain, we have connective tissue called dura that has a special liquid that our brains need. Affects even the dura. And at 19, I had enough dura damage that I had a stroke. So I have
Oh,
post-stroke symptoms, including nerve damage and blindness from the stroke. Ironically, Marfan's syndrome typically causes blindness in later stages, but I got it from the stroke from my dura damage, not from Marfan's itself, making my eyes, the connectivity in my eyes fall apart. Uh,
gosh.
it's basically lots of, if you're familiar with Edwards Downlows, it's basic,
Mhm.
it's similar to that. So where it's lots of pain, lots of joint issues, and basically pain everywhere is the best way to describe what it's like.
I'm sorry that you have to deal with that. That's crazy, honestly.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
not great, but I've learned to adapt.
You're a warrior, dude. Seriously. Jesus. Okay. Thank you for sharing too. Yeah, can we have some more hearts in chat, dude? If you guys do exclamation mark hearts, you guys could do hearts in chat. Also, Ashley, if you wanted to share your symptoms that you experience and how they affect your daily life, we would love to hear.
Absolutely. Trip, I started crying while you were
I'm so
describing.
sorry.
No, 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 no,
No,
please.
don't be sorry.
No, don't be sorry. It's not like it just this is huge like that we raise awareness on this because there are people like you who are suffering in silence and who suffer by themselves, and it's just important that we raise awareness on this so we just be more kind to each other.
Right.
That's the biggest thing that I've learned from my diagnosis is anytime I see a person, first of all, don't judge a book by its cover, but also like you never know what someone is going through. So like before you judge them, like put yourself in their shoes and just hearing your story, it just like, oh my gosh, like it just you are such an incredible person for continuing to like persevere through that. And Slender, you too, because it could cause, a lot of learning disabilities and like things like that. Like it's a challenge and we rose to it. These were the cards that we dealt and we decided to play our hand, and I'm just like, I'm proud of us. But sorry, I just need to get emotional about that for a second.
No, no, you're
Um,
fine.
You're
but
fine.
um some symptoms that I experience. Like I said, Hashimoto's like affects pretty much my entire body. Just because it affects my thyroid and your thyroid is in charge of a lot of things with your body. But some of the main symptoms that I experience are muscle and joint pain. Especially like if I'm not eating the right things, like there will be days where it's so hard for me to get out of
Mhm.
bed. And like walk and stuff. So I have to be careful with diet. Diet's like very much like interconnected with my disease. Um, but depression, anxiety, which that I think that really comes with kind of the territory of like being tired all the time. I'm absolutely exhausted all the time. When I wake up in the morning, I'm automatically at 50% for the day. I'll never be over 50% ever again in my life. And that's really like mentally difficult to deal with because I want to live a full life. I want to have energy to do things. I want to work out. I want to like go out and do stuff, but I don't always have the energy to do that. I sleep a lot. I constantly need breaks, because of muscle and joint pain.
Mhm.
But I would say like my biggest symptom is exhaustion, just exhaustion. I know before I got diagnosed, I lost so much of my hair, my eyelashes, and my eyebrows fell out. There's a lot going on. But yeah, since it affects a lot of those symptoms in your body, I really honestly just deal with just being tired because my body's just overworked. It doesn't have its pal, the immune system, to back it up to keep me going. So
Mhm.
it's just fighting they're just fighting each other constantly and my body's just exhausted all the time. So, um, yeah, that's my experience.
Yeah. Also too, something that is like really wild to me, and I don't know if you guys, I know Ashlina you have a sibling, right, Ashlina? I
Mhm.
always say that like just to kind of like see the light in our situations, like Trip is just like a freaking warrior, tough as heck. Um, I don't know if you guys have siblings, but I always say that I'm glad that I was the one who
I'm the
got
oldest of
this
four.
autoimmune disease. Like, because I would hate to watch my younger siblings, because all my siblings are younger than me. I would hate to like have to watch them go through like what I went through. So it kind of just kind of helps me, and like it makes me feel stronger. I'm like more powerful that like I'm owning it, you know?
Yeah.
Because yeah, sorry, go ahead, Trip.
I was gonna agree because I'm the youngest of four,
Mm-hmm.
and while one of my siblings does have it's, myself and one of my sisters have Marfan syndrome. Thankfully, very thankfully for her, she's not on the same part of the severity spectrum as me for symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
I would not wish this on anyone,
Right.
especially not people I care about.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes it a little easier to push through when you die. You know, people you care about, who you know, don't have to deal with what you had because of the way the genetic lottery worked out.
Right.
I was just about to say that. I was just about to say that. It like, especially for like, and this is why I tell people to like go get their blood work once a year just to like be on top of their stuff because like all of the females on my mom's side of the family have thyroid problems. Not all of
Oh,
them were
yeah.
diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease like me, but they do have thyroid problems. So that's why like I always encourage, you know, folks to go get your blood work done and everything like that, just to stay on top. Yeah, we got hyperthyroidism, which is the speed up of the
Mm-hmm.
thyroid, and then hypo, which is the slowdown, and then Hashimoto's is like that's like last pit stop of like, okay, your thyroid literally doesn't work anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so that I was just gonna say that Trip, like genetics also kind of play a little bit into this. So like make sure that your family's getting their checkups and like things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So you could prepare for your future. I think that was like and like I love like my parents and like I totally understand, but like that was why I wish I would have known what my mom was going through so I could have prepared myself because it hit me like a brick wall and I wasn't ready for it. And I just wish that I had like more prep, I guess. But also my mom didn't know that that's what she had, you know? So there's like things that
Mm-hmm.
go into it. But yeah, genetics, man. It's like it's wild how all of that works. Um but your analogy is spot on. Yeah, I would never wish this on my little brother like ever. So,
Right.
yeah.
And also too, like that's why I tell people too, when it's the new year and you're like, oh, new year, new me, if you're able to and have the means to, like just get all your appointments done at the during the new year. Have the new year be your reminder, okay, I gotta do all my dentist appointment, my primary care appointment, do all of the appointments that you can do if you have the means to, because it's really important. I know that a lot of us come from, you know, maybe parents that just want you to be tough. I know that us here on the panel, we're all part of the Latin Guild. So, you know, we grew up with Latin parents. And, you know, your parent, like you said, Ashley, your mom didn't know that she had the hyperthyroid, thyroid issues. My mom had lupus, and like she didn't know until like after one of her kids. And it's like, those things are important to know. You know, we can't just tough it. We can't just tough it out all the time. Yeah, rub some dirt in it. Like, yeah, oh, you scraped your leg. Like, it's okay. Just like rub it off and like go away. You know, like it's so important now. And you pay to go see the doctor. Be open with your doctor, even if you feel like, oh, this is the most like simple pain I have, I should just tough it out. No, let your doctors know. Like it's so important. It could be something so little, could be something so big, you know? Oh gosh, no, Trip. I'm sorry. Yeah. Like I know recently my doctor was just like anything, like any tiny thing, like let me know, even if you think that it's not like something huge. It's important for them to know everything. And you're paying them. Most of us are, but yeah.
Right.
You might as well. All right, Slender Monk, what are your wait, did we already go through your symptoms? No, you told us a lot, but tell us more.
I was gonna say, I did the ADHD thing and just kind of gave you guys the whole thing in like 2 minutes. And sorry about that. I had to turn off my camera and everything because somebody knocked on the door. And I'm like, why?
Oh, you're fine.
I'm busy. Anyway,
No worries.
what's it called?
But how does it affect your daily life like right now? I know you went into your like your symptoms,
Yeah.
but how
So
does it affect you
the
today?
biggest thing for me, um, is that I do like my main
Mhm.
diagnosis is the agenesis, but the biggest, like most prominent thing is my ADHD. I have
Okay.
ADHD level 1, which is just the
Mm.
inattentiveness, but that comes with racing thoughts, the whole um, ADHD paralysis, as they call it. Sometimes my dad will get
Mm.
annoyed and he's like, dude, I gave you these things to do. And half the time he's like, I need you to do everything at the same time, like now. And I'm like, dude, that gets me like super
Yeah.
irritated and that like drives my ADHD up the wall because I'm like, I know I can do everything that you asked me to because I've done it before. But if you want me to do it everything all at the same time, all at once, I'm like, I can't do that. My brain's gonna be like, okay, I'm checking out. See you guys later. Bye. And then just, But that's kind of like the biggest things. I don't keep planners. I don't keep uh anything that might help me like organize my day because I'll use it maybe 2 3 days and then throw it out because it's not upon me. But what I will do is like I was doing with you guys over the week. If I know that something's coming up, I'll be like, okay, what's going on? What do I need to know to be prepared? How can I help out? And I try and if it's going to be a big event like this panel, I'll go ahead and preemptively get myself ready so that I can be able to um what's it called go through each thing how it's supposed to go. And that's usually how I'll manage my whole thing. And let's see. Yeah, I try and keep myself organized. I can't say I'm the best at it. And yeah, the biggest my biggest symptom is the ADHD. I do take medication and it'll help me to a certain degree. Sometimes I'll take it enough like for a period of time and once I get that routine going, that's one thing that's interesting with me. Once I get a routine going and that'll like work with me, I'll keep up with it as long as I can. And then when that goes out the window, I'm like, okay, now I need to find something else to base myself off of so that I can keep going and not just kind of sit there and be like, okay, now I'm a waste of space. And that's just how my brain works sometimes. I know, I know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So there is a correlation. So ADHD is a symptom of your condition,
Correct.
Sunder. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It's actually a side effect from my for my condition.
Oh, okay. And wait, Sunder, can you I don't know if you already did. Can you type out your condition in chat too, just in case we have anyone who's like curious? Because I know some people do like to Google. I'm just so used to doing that with my condition because nobody knows how to spell linear scleroderma. So if there's anyone who wants to check out Slender's condition or do their own research, you guys definitely can. It'll be in the chat in a second from Slender Monk. Yeah, you were not a waste of space, exactly. And a lot of you guys are saying to be, or sorry, Tabby said to be your own advocate, and 100% I agree with that. Like you guys really, it's so annoying because we shouldn't have to do this, especially when it comes to the medical system, like seeing a doctor, whatever. But sometimes you have to be annoying and you have to just keep fighting for yourself. Like you're like, hey, I know I have this pain and I know it's not just like a cramp because I'm a woman or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Because sometimes they downplay and be like, oh, you're hormonal, or oh, it's just because you have your menstrual cycle coming up, or whatever it is. Yeah, keep advocating for yourself because it's really important because you are the only one who's going to be taking control of it because sometimes they just downplay. A lot of times they downplay symptoms. Um, Thank you, Slender. You shouldn't have to jump through so many hoops, right, Tabby? I totally agree 100%. Thank you also, Slender, for sharing. I appreciate you. All right,
Hopefully
for
I
me,
shouldn't have any other
mhm.
distractions or interruptions. My bad.
Oh my gosh, please don't worry. This is supposed to be just like a chill, like we're just chatting together. Stop it. Um, I know Well, I know that, sorry, Ashley, I know that you have to go soon. So, and you have like the questions in front of you. Did you just want to like answer all the questions before you have to go in 10 minutes? Sorry, Ashley might have to leave us here pretty soon, but I want to make sure
Sorry.
that you're heard. No, don't be sorry. I want to make sure that you're heard, you know, because these questions I think were really good questions. So
Yeah.
Trip and Slender. I'm just gonna ask Ashlina the questions, and then after she's gone, we'll just go ahead and pick up where we left off. Um, if that's okay with you guys as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Sounds like a
perfect.
plan.
So Ashlina, what are some misconceptions people have about Hashimoto's?
And real quick, I'm so sorry that I
Mhm.
have to go soon. I'm gonna try and like stay as long as I can. I just have to go back to work. But anyways, so some misconceptions I would say is like, so I kind of go back to the story about my mother not
Mhm.
knowing that, you know, she had it until way later in her life. Like I was way older. Um Honestly, I'm almost certain that she didn't know that she had it until I was, like, going to college. So, anyway, but a big misconception, is that was put against me, was my mom was very much like, "Well, I did it. I had 2 kids, and I didn't even know I
Oh,
had it, I was
yeah.
able to get through it." And it's like, "Okay, well, that's you." Um, I love what everyone tells me to just do yoga, just stretch every day,
Hmm.
go vegan or vegetarian, and it's like it's a lot more complicated than that, and it really I think any Spoonie or any warrior can honestly relate to that, is when people try to, like, give you advice that might not work for you, um, but I think a big misconception is just that because they can't see what our body is doing to us, that we're fine. Because
Right.
for the most part, I don't have to park in a handicap spot. For the most part, you know, I don't need to wear my back brace. For the most part, like I'm pretty okay, I guess you could say, like, you know, but in the inside, my body is just like falling apart, you know? And so that was the most, like, frustrating thing for me, is when my friends and my family would be like, "Oh, well, why can't you just do this?" And it's like, "Okay, you don't understand, like, why I can't, and I need you to just get on my level." It took years for me to be able to, like, level with him about, like, why I can't do things or why I don't have the energy to do things, you know?
Hmm.
So I would say, like, those are the biggest misconceptions, when dealing with things, is because they can't see it, they think I'm fine, and it's like, you have no idea what's
It's the
going on.
worst.
Yeah.
It's the worst. I hate when people are like, oh, when I tell them about my scar, they're like, oh, I didn't even notice until you said something. It's like, no, like, don't stop. Like, what? And then also too with I know, so you have an autoimmune disease, Hashimoto's, and I know
Mhm.
with a lot of us autoimmune warriors, a common symptom between us all, if you guys didn't know, is depression,
Yeah.
and it's really sucks that we have to deal with that. And I just wanted to tell you that like you are so incredible and like everything that you do. If you guys didn't know, Ashlina is one of the Twitch Latin Guild leaders, along with Mayhem Mermaid, and she's incredible. Both of the work that they do is so incredible. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing and being here. And do you ever get people who are like, when you tell them that you're depressed or something, they're like, oh, but you're so happy all the time. How could you be depressed? Oh my gosh, that is
Yeah.
the worst. I hate that. People always
Yes.
tell me, you're so bubbly, you're not depressed. And I'm like,
Yeah.
man, that's literally the people who are the most like bubbly and happy all the time are the ones who are hiding behind that because they don't want to be a burden to
Right.
others. So that's why I always say, make sure your friends are okay. Check up
Right.
on them. Don't be like, oh my God, are you okay? Are you depressed? Just say like, hey, I was thinking about you today. What's up? Like, just talk to them, just,
Right.
just do that.
Right.
It's so frustrating.
Right. And I think it's also
Yeah.
important that we remember that depression also looks different for everybody. Like
That.
some people, like it's a spectrum, right? There's like uh you're extremely active during your depression, or there's other people where they don't do a single thing, they don't get out of bed. There's a spectrum to it. So I think that's also important to remember. And like people deal with their depression differently too. Like for me, when I'm depressed, like I really just like recluse within myself. And so, like I said, and for some people, like my family members, when they're depressed, they just want to go to work and they just want to work, like just to distract themselves. And I think this is also an important aspect
That's
of
Hispanic.
I was literally just about to say that. I was literally just about to say
I was like, they Mexican.
Yeah, literally. So it's like, that's a typical like Latina aspect that like we deal with is like, oh, just get over it. And that was why like I had to self-advocate for myself, and I didn't really have like my parents behind me during the journey. It wasn't until I got diagnosed where my parents were like, "Oh, so you weren't lying or you weren't making this up." And it's like, no, like
For
I
attention.
wasn't. Yeah, no, like So, yeah, and we also have to remember that, like I said, depression looks different for everybody. So, I think that's another, important aspect to keep in mind.
Yeah, also too, I think that it's really important to, because I know people will just like, oh, what'd you do today? Oh, nothing. Oh, you're lazy. Don't say that to somebody. You don't know what they're dealing with. I remember one time too, someone was like, they came here in Twitch and they were like, oh, this person at my work stinks. Oh my God. And like just ranting, like, well, you don't know that maybe it took all their spoons for them to even show up to work because they need the money. Like you never know what's going on in somebody's life. Like you need to be, like you said, it's so important to be kind to each other. Instead of talking and gossiping about somebody, how about you go up to them and let them know, like, hey, is everything okay? I just want to let you know that, when you walked past me, I smelled a little funny, and I just want to let you know that that's something, if it's really bothering you that much to where you're saying that you can't do your job, let them know. Don't be mean about it. Don't go to your other employees or coworkers and like talk about it. It's really like so crazy, because when that's literally bullying, and then you're bullying someone who has depression and anxiety, and then we all know like that affects them even more. So
right. And I think, and that's, when all of us spoonies and warriors like get together, like we talk about the spoon theory. And the spoon theory is an important way to understand, like, we only have a certain amount of spoons during the day, and each activity that we do takes a spoon, which means it takes energy. And for some people, that is very hard. And like, example for Trip is in a wheelchair. Like, you don't know how much effort that takes to care for yourself unless you yourself are in a wheelchair. So you need to put yourself in other people's shoes. And like, that's why, like, listen, I wish that I never got diagnosed with this. Like, I do. But at the same time, it's been a blessing in disguise, because the way my empathy and my compassion and my love for others is set up now is like so different, because I just love people. I always have, but I just love them extra, because you truly never know what is going on with someone. And it's so important that we be empathetic and sympathetic. So, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely makes you appreciate the little things like more when you're going through like a rare disease and things like that, honestly. Thank you for sharing, by the way, too. You guys all give like such valid and good points. And especially chatters too. You guys are like awesome. And I love that you guys are all relating to each other. But that's why also too, like in co-working streams, like for example, when I do co-working streams and people are like, oh, I'm not doing anything today, Liz, I'm just like reading. I'm like, that's doing something. You're showing up for yourself and doing something you enjoy. Like, don't feel hard on yourself because you didn't do anything today. If you woke up and got out of bed, you done did something, So
Right. And I think another important aspect to this conversation is rest is productive. You need the rest in order to heal, because a lot of what our body is doing is attacking us. So you need to rest so that you can heal, but you also need to rest so you can, like, productivity does not equal your worth. How productive you are during the day doesn't show how worthy or how loved you are. Like, we need to like cut the sever between productivity and worth, because it's not that. Your worth is found in how you treat others and how you love yourself and how you love others. And the best thing that you can do to show that you love yourself and that you love others is to rest.
Yeah. It's showing up for yourself completely 100%. And when you're taking like rest is taking care of yourself. And I find too, when you are resting and taking care of yourself, and not just with that, live to work mindset, like you're much nicer to people. You show up for your loved ones. So yeah, better taking care of yourself is like better loving others around you. Just like you said, that's actually a great point.
Yeah, because you're teaching when you say, "You know what? I'm gonna take a rest day today." You're teaching someone else that it's okay to rest just because.
Hmm.
And then they're like, "You know what? I actually am so stressed out and so burnt out. I need to rest." And then you're teaching them that it's okay to rest. Like it's a love language essentially that you're sharing with others. And I think it's really important.
Same. Um, Also too, like just this is so off topic. This is why people don't freaking have like hobbies. Like it's so common for us to be like, oh, so what do you do on your free time? Oh, I just go to sleep. Why? Because all I'm doing is like going to work. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, we should be really like living that, like romanticizing our life and doing like
Yeah,
little scrapbooking or junk journaling and playing whatever it is, that playing games and doing all those things. You should enjoy life to the fullest
right,
and do
right,
the little things because
right.
they're
But
the really big
also
things.
Also, you're bringing up a whole other
Yeah, sorry.
no, I'm just saying you're bringing up capitalism and the capitalist mindset
Yeah.
and just how the way this world is set up. That's a whole different conversation, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it does affect people though with autoimmune diseases
Oh,
and rare diseases
100%,
too. But yeah, it
100%.
just it just sucks that that's the way that it has to be or that it's been and the mindset of it all.
Right.
But what was your experience with the medical system and trying to get diagnosed? I know you have Hashimoto's and you kind of went over
Yeah.
it already. Do you want to just skip that one or?
No, I mean,
Okay.
basically, just to kind of answer it quickly, because I did kind
Hmm.
of go over it, but as far as the medical system goes, if they can't see it, they don't believe it. I think that's kind of
Hmm.
across the board. And it took me over a year to get diagnosed. And then it took me uh 2.5 years to be able to see a specialist. And for those who don't know, like when we have to go see a specialist, like it takes forever to get an appointment, first of all.
Yeah,
Um,
wait list.
yeah, a wait list, exactly. So,
Hmm.
um, but as far as like how the medical system has treated me, it was bad until I advocated for myself, like what Ola was talking about, like and what Tab was talking about. You have to like advocate for yourself. And like I hated that I had to go to that doctor's appointment. And I mean, I didn't plan to cry, but that I cried. And that was really the only way to get them to listen to me. But ever since that moment, ever since I advocated for myself and I found a doctor that would listen, it's been great. Like just like you said, Liz, like you have a doctor that's like, no, any symptom that you're feeling, please tell me. Um,
Hmm.
and because they worked with me and because I advocated for myself and I worked for myself too, I'm at a point now where I can actually go to the gym 3 days a week without like getting sick, which is huge.
I'm
So
proud of you.
when you have an advocacy group around you like that cares about you, like that's what you can accomplish. And I think that's what the medical system needs to be is, an advocacy partner for you so that you can live your best life because being sick every day is not normal. That's not okay.
Right.
Being in pain every day is not normal. That's not okay. And so when you have that advocacy group around you, you're able to live your best life. And like, because I had people taking care of me and like I was taking care of myself and we had a treatment plan, like I said, I'm able to work out 3 days a week now, which I was never able to do that. Yeah, it's
I
huge.
love that.
It's
I
huge for
love
me.
that.
It's huge for me because I would work out and then I would get sick for a week and
Yeah.
I would be in bed and it's like, what's the point? Like, I'm not going to do this. So,
Hmm.
and I'd be in so much pain and it was like, it wasn't worth it. But like I said, because you have that advocacy around you, fight for yourself, first of all. Second of all, because you have that advocacy around you that you fought for, you're able to find treatment plans. You're able to like better your life. So, that's kind of been my journey with the medical system with my diagnosis and everything like that.
Okay. Thank you. And that is like, dude, that is so amazing that you're like on your gym journey and then you're not feeling sick anymore. That makes me so freaking happy. Like, yeah, any movement is good movement, but like if you're somebody with a rare disease, autoimmune disease, chronically ill, invisible illness, y'all know how hard it could be to go to the gym, to work out. But the movement really does make you feel good at the end of the day. You do need those endorphins. But you did mention a lot about advocating yourself for yourself. Um, Can you give us some examples of how you advocated for yourself? Or maybe if you have any tips, maybe if there's someone who wants to advocate for themselves in chat, but they're kind of like, I don't know how. How are some ways that you can advocate for yourself in the medical setting?
Absolutely. So one of the things that was a huge thing that I did for myself was I started a food journal
Hmm.
because I thought maybe I was just having like an allergic reaction to something and I didn't know. So I started a food journal and I started like writing down all of the things that I was eating and all of my symptoms. And like it was a day to day thing. And that's what I brought to my doctor. And I was like, this is what's happening. Like, this isn't anxiety or depression related. Like, this is like to my core. I am so tired. Um, but it's hard. And listen, let me tell you, there is nothing more frustrating or scary than going into a doctor's appointment. And I was like shaking, I remember, and being like, you're gonna listen to me.
Hmm.
I I'm paying you, so you're gonna listen to me. It was hard for me to do that, but I just took control of the appointment because it's like I don't want to live like my life like this. I don't deserve to live my life like this. But yeah, a food journal. I also started like looking up my symptoms and I found like some Instagrams that were actually talking about thyroid stuff. So that's like another way that you can build like an advocacy group around you. Um, but yeah, it's hard, but I very much like encourage you. You know your body better than anybody else. You live in it 24/7, 365. You know when you're not feeling good. And sometimes you have to just take control and let them know, like, I'm not here to I'm not here to bust your ass. I'm not here to lie to you. Like, I'm here because I'm hurting and I'm not feeling well. And I just need you to listen to me. Um, and I have told people this before. Some of my friends have, been on their diagnosis journeys, and I told them, call me and I will pretend like I am your mom. I don't care. I will literally be like, no, my daughter has been sick for weeks. She's not
Yeah.
feeling good. Like, you're going to get we're going to do blood work. We're going to do this. We're going to do this because she's not feeling good. And this is so unfair to her. Like, I'm not joking. I will be your mom, like, if you need me to, because you deserve to feel good. Um,
Yeah.
but just remember that you live in this shell every day. You live in this body and you know your body better than anybody else. And anyone who is in the healthcare field should want to help you. So make them help you.
Right. Speak up for yourself, even if you're afraid too, because it's like if you don't speak up for yourself, you don't know how much worse it could get.
Right.
And that's like the most important thing is like catching things early on, honestly.
Right.
I will be your mom.
I will.
I- right. Yeah. And it sucks that it has to get to that point, but
Right.
like if it does, then yeah, advocate for yourself. It's so important.
Yeah.
What are some lifestyle changes that helped you manage your symptoms?
Oh yeah. This like and I want to preface this by saying like not everything is going to work for everybody. So definitely keep that in mind while I'm describing
Hmm.
these things because also Hashimoto's like I said, you have hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism, and then you have Hashimoto's, which is like that next step up. And like it all kind of like differs. But for me, very specifically, going gluten free as well as dairy free has been huge for me because it is very important that we try to bring inflammation down. So, because when your immune system is attacking your thyroid, it creates inflammation in your body. And that's what hurts so bad. And that's what makes you feel so sick and so tired all the time is the inflammation. So, um, gluten, trying to be gluten free, dairy free, also trying to do 10 to 30 minutes of activity a day, like even if it's just like walking around my backyard and playing fetch with my dog, like some type of movement. Um,
Hmm.
Journaling has been huge for me. Very, very huge for me. Nature has been one of my biggest healers. Doing picnics, going hiking, hugging trees. I'm not even kidding. I don't care. I'm a freaking tree hugger. I'm a hippie. I don't even care. But like just being in nature has really, really healed me. But also just like practicing like self love and self care and just like really loving myself through this process and making sure that like I'm not too hard on myself. Um, I think everyone deserves to love themselves. Everyone
Hmm.
deserves to treat themselves with care and just making that conscious effort every single day to just be like, hey, you're doing your best, like, thank you legs for allowing me to walk and see the world. Thank you, arms, for allowing me to hug my friends. Thank you, eyes, for me being able to see a jack-o'-lantern, like just like a little things like that,
Yes.
So it's just, journaling, being in nature. I mean, there's a reason why nature heals everybody. There's a reason for that, and gluten-free, dairy-free, trying to do some type of activity a day. And yeah, just practicing that self-love and self-care every day.
Yeah, Angie said, I would say that's more indigenous ways
Yeah.
to love plant relatives. I was thinking that
Yes.
when you were saying that, I was
Yes.
like, Ashlina is indigenous as well,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah. I am indigenous, and
Yeah.
Angie 100%, like, nature is
Hmm.
our healer. It's our healer, and it has healed me in ways that I can't even express. So yes, period. Period.
I literally was thinking about that though when you were saying that. That's so funny. I was like, she's indigenous. This is why she's tree hugging.
Yeah. Tree
So
hugger.
how do you balance your work, hobbies, and relationships with your disease? Like, and maybe what are the struggles that you've come across?
Mhm. In the beginning, and I'll try not to get emotional about this because it still irritates me. But in the beginning, when everything was kind of going on, I was a lot more tired. Like, I mean, because I wasn't medicated, I didn't have a proper treatment plan. So of course, everything,
Hmm.
like I was like crawling through like sludge, just like every
Hmm.
single day was a chore. Um, my friends would stop inviting me to places, and that really hurt
Oh,
my feelings because
yeah.
it was like, even if I can't go or even if I have to cancel, like, please still invite me so that I can
Yeah.
feel like I am a part of your life still, you know?
Hmm.
And I'm trying to hurry so that you can hear from Trip and Slender too, but, um, that was a really
No
hard thing
worries.
that I dealt with in the beginning. And so basically how I try and manage that now is, I'm very communicative. Like, communication is huge for me. And like, if we have something planned that day, I'm like, hey, listen, I'm just letting you know I woke up today really, really tired. If I don't see myself or if I'm just sitting there in silence, it's because A, B, C, D. Like, I'm very communicative. I let them know. And then as far as streams go too, like, I've built a community to understand what like I go through on a daily basis. So I don't have to explain myself when I say I have to take a night off. Like,
Right.
we get it. Like, we understand. It's very
Hmm.
important again to build those advocacy groups around you, and to select your people because now everyone that's around me and that loves me, like, they understand what I'm going through. Yeah, fostering an understanding community and friend groups, and people who don't want to listen or care for you, like, they don't deserve to be in your life anyways. Um,
Hmm.
but how it sometimes I catch myself, like, overworking myself. It's definitely important that I make rest days for myself. Like, usually Saturdays and Sundays are, like, my do nothing. I stream Sunday evenings, but, like, during the day, like, do nothing. You just if you wanna read, read. If you just wanna watch ghost paranormal YouTube, do that. Like,
Hmm.
make sure to fit those days in your schedule. Um so, like, hey, my rest day's coming up, like, this will be really good for me. But also, if you just need to rest that day, just rest. Like, it is what it is.
Valid.
Yeah, it's all about balance, and like, I try to remind myself that each day is a new chance and a new opportunity. So if I wasn't able to do it today, doesn't mean I can't try to do it tomorrow. Like,
Hmm.
my therapist like calls it like a pendulum. Like, one day is going to be like this, one day is going to be like this, and you just have to go with the flow. You really have to
Hmm.
just go with the flow, um, and just love yourself through the process. That's honestly, I don't know if that answered your question, but
Yeah, no way.
I
It
don't know if
does.
I don't know if there's like really a way to like manage all of these things, but
Hmm.
you just do what you can with what you have. Um, and I also want to like preface this. I also want to say this too. Like, I'm very privileged. Like, I work from home. I don't have an office job. Um, and content creation is also my like full-time job. So I get to be at home, and a lot of the things that I get to do it from my safe space. So I think that
Right.
also like is important for me to mention. I'm in my own space so that I can do whatever it is that I love. So
Hmm.
I think that's important too. But
Yeah.
still fostering and building that community that loves you as well as just space around you.
Right. But you did work hard to get to be able to work from home.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah. So
Right.
don't downplay it. You did work your butt off, you know? So
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
So what sorry. I'm just trying to go over like the most important questions out of like each section that I
Mhm.
have here.
Mhm.
So how can people be better allies or friends to people with conditions like autoimmune diseases, rare diseases, invisible illness? Because you went over it a little bit with your friends not inviting you because you were kind of like to
Mhm.
them felt like a burden. So
Right.
how would you think that people can be better support systems for their friends or better allies?
One of my favorite things that my friends and my family have done is they have researched my disease themselves. And they have done the research and they've compiled knowledge on their own. And
Hmm.
I think that was so refreshing for me because I didn't have to constantly explain myself. Um,
Hmm.
because that is like also really exhausting to just have to like keep explaining. And then of course when you have anxiety and you're a people pleaser, you over explain and then,
Yeah.
all of these other things.
Apologize a lot.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that was one of my favorite things that my friends and my family have done is they've done their own research. They've built up their own knowledge, about my disease so that they know what I'm facing. Um, I think other ways is just practice being empathetic and sympathetic and, just know that when you're looking at a person, like for instance, like, if you see someone and they look like they're fine, but they're walking slow across the parking lot and you're like trying to get in the store, like try to have some patience, like
Yes.
practice patience, practice compassion, practice empathy. Like I said, these things are a 24/7, 365 conscious effort that you have to make every single day. And it's very important that you exercise these things as much as you possibly can. But being an ally means that you're just open to understanding.
Hmm.
You're just open to understanding and you're open to love and you're open to compassion. And so I think that's the biggest thing that you can do is just open your mind and your heart. Really,
Right.
truly, honestly. Um, and just hear your friends out, listen to them if they're having a bad day. Like, they already probably feel like they don't have anyone to talk to about it. So
Hmm.
when you open up the floor to be like, "Hey, no, you can talk to me about it," it gives them a sigh of relief knowing that they're not alone and that they're not a burden either, because I think all of us can relate to that big word there, which is burden.
Right.
Yeah.
We already feel like a burden to
Hmm.
to the people in our lives, and so when you allow them to talk to you, you're not reinforcing that idea, but you are breaking down that idea that they are a burden.
Right.
So, yeah, those are some ways I think people can just be better allies and better friends and better family members and just people in general. Like, be nice. Like this world fucking
Yeah.
excuse my language, but this world fucking sucks. Like you don't have to be an asshole. Like just be kind. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And when you put that negative energy out in the universe, somehow, someday, it's gonna just come back right to you and
Exactly. And
smack you in the face.
right. And I think it's very super important that we mention in this panel that the disabled community is the like top community that anybody at any time in their life can become a part of.
Hmm. Exactly. Some people get
So,
diagnosed way later with things in life,
right,
never showing symptoms.
right.
Hmm.
So just because you don't have compassion and love for others, like doesn't mean that you can't get diagnosed as well. So just always remember that, like and this community, like the disabled community, is one that you can become a part of at any time in your life. So just always keep that in mind. The energy that you put out into the world, it comes back to you. So
Right. That was well said. Exactly. If you make fun of someone with a disability, who knows? Maybe later in life you might get diagnosed. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna put that out there, but that's basic. All right. I don't want to keep you much longer, Ashleyna, because it's Friday and I want you to get done with work early so you can go and relax and watch your paranormal YouTube videos. I was just kidding, guys. Come on. Yeah, disability does not discriminate. Ashlina, is there any last messages that you want to share with people? Something that you want people to remember? Yeah, any last closing words?
Um, all I'll really say is just, just love people. Love is so easy. I feel like
Mhm.
hate is it's harder to hate than it is to love. I don't know. I feel like love is such an innate part of us, and
Mhm.
it's just so much less energy to just love than it is to hate. Um, but yeah, you just never know what people are going through, so just be kind. And then the last message that I'll leave you with is that Halloween is all year. Celebrate all year.
All year, baby. Wait, Ashlina, before you go, does
Hmm.
anyone in chat have any questions for Ashlina? She has Hashimoto's. She's also a streamer here on Twitch. She has a YouTube. She has all the socials. I believe it's all Ashlina with double A at the end, right? Okay, perfect. Does anyone have any questions? And if you guys want to go follow Ashlina, which I highly recommend you should, because like I said, she's another safe space that I go to when I want to vent about my own like symptoms and things like that. Go follow her. It's right there in that chat. It's free to follow. No questions, but I dropped a follow. I love that. Thank you guys so much for being so sweet and kind to everybody here today. I really appreciate it. Josh says, thank you for sharing your story, journey, and advices today. No questions, guys? Any questions? Ashlina's gonna
Y'all are more
head
than
out
welcome
soon.
to come to my stream and ask me anytime too. I
Yes, just go over there and bother her, honestly.
literally, please do. You
Just
won't
drop
bother me.
pumpkins. Drop pumpkins in her chat. She'll love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
She has a really good setup for Halloween stuff. If you guys like my Halloween stuff, she has a full room. This is 5 months worth. She's got years worth of collections over there, okay? Just do fart in her chat. All right, Ashlina. Thank you so much for sharing your story and being here. It means so much too. I think to have somebody who also just can relate and deal with the same things and share their experiences here. So I really appreciate you, and I'm sorry that you have to go through all the things that you go through with the cards that you were dealt with. But you're so strong.
I appreciate you. And thank you for doing this. This is really super important. And thank you all for being here. It really means a lot. This is how you are becoming a better advocate and a better ally, and how we are building a community together as spoonies and warriors. So
Amola is fellow thyroid disease clerk.
oh,
Everyone say bye. Or sorry, we're not ending the stream. We're just ending Ashlina's little video here, so she'll be gone in a second. But I did save off where we were last off. We can go to Trip now. For the question is, what symptoms do you experience and how do they affect your daily life? Oh wait, we went through that with you, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll go to Slender. No, wait, you said that one too.
Yes, we are
Sorry.
on. I made a
3.
little note on the thingy. We
So
are
I mean,
the
oh sorry, I have it where we are. Sorry.
Okay.
I was just thinking though, for your Trip, misconceptions people have about your condition. That's kind of difficult, isn't it, when people don't really know about your condition? But if there are any misconceptions,
Yes, there definitely still
yeah.
are.
Mhm.
I also sorry, my dorm mate just got home, so if you're hearing weird noises in the background, it's not me.
How dare they? How dare they come home?
I'm looking into getting more accessible housing here shortly, but one of the main misconceptions people have of Marfan syndrome is they'll just do a little quick Google of it. They'll read it and they think they get it. Like
Yeah.
if you Google Marfan syndrome, like there's a little it has a little infographic. And like half of that it's like technically correct,
Mm-hmm.
but Marfan syndrome is something that varies wildly in severity depending on like the case. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people just will look into Marfan syndrome and assume it's something a lot more minor than it is.
Mm-hmm.
When even though the symptoms can be, life threatening, they'll see that it's a to quote how Google shows it, it says it is an inherited disorder that affects connective tissue. It makes them taller, wider, have longer arms and fingers, and can cause problems with vision and the heart. but there's a whole lot more that goes into it than just that.
Hmm.
So people will do a quick Google, read the first Google result, and assume, oh, that sounds pretty minor, and just
Yeah.
just not do any more research than the first result on Google.
Right. And we were talking about this earlier. It can look different on everybody. Like there could be people, like you said, your sibling has Marfan syndrome, and it looks different on both of you guys, I'm sure.
Yes.
So,
Not everyone who has Marfan syndrome
hmm
will have this like elongated frame, they call it. I have
hmm
it. I'm 6'6", but I have a 7.5 foot wingspan.
oh wow.
That's considered like normal Marfan syndrome appearance.
Hmm
However, my sister, who also has Marfan syndrome, is like 5'6" with a normal
oh
wingspan,
wow.
but she
Oh
also has the
wow.
condition.
Hmm
So,
right.
well, it's still primarily an invisible disability, because people just kind of look at me and like I look odd, but a lot of people, most since it's such a rare disease, um,
Hmm
most people don't assume it's a disability thing. But I've
right.
had doctors who, um, when I was getting my tests, and they were
Hmm
having me do things like, stretch your arms as far as they can go. They would be like, I don't know, maybe is that long enough? Is that too long? Or is that, are you just weirdly shaped? And I'm like, Doc, really?
right.
I don't know. It's
right.
I agree that there's not a ton of misconceptions about it, but there definitely are still some misconceptions from people
Yeah.
who don't have all the information.
Yeah, and it's still annoying when you have to like deal with it when they come to you like they're an expert
Yeah.
on your condition. And we are kind of mentioning this earlier, like when it's kind of similar to like when you tell your symptoms to the doctor and they downplay it. It's like with people too, they just yeah, they look at you and like, well, and I'm sure you're tough as well, and you don't probably complain or like as much because I'm like that too, where I
I
don't
really try not
like
to complain. I'm
exactly, and
pretty
so they're just
quiet
thinking
about
you're
it.
fine. Yeah, and they just probably think you're fine. Yeah, but thank you for sharing. And Slender, have you come across any misconceptions about your condition?
People don't realize that I have this condition until I
Mhm,
actually sit down and kind of talk about it. Because I do
mhm,
like to bring it up sometimes when we're talking and things lead one thing leads to another, and then I'll start talking about it. They're like, "You really have something like that?" Like, "Yep." Like, "Oh, interesting.
wow,
Well, I
yeah,
wouldn't I wouldn't have, since as you can see, like right now I'm having this totally normal conversation back and forth. They're like, dude,
mhm,
if you're supposed to have that problem, you surely don't show it. I'm like, well, I've had a lot of work to get to this point. But yeah,
mhm,
mostly they get surprised about my social interactions, how I
mhm,
um how I do certain things. Cause yeah, I have, along with things, I also have like motor skills issues. So
mhm.
this desk that I actually set up, and I think I shared a picture on Discord,
Yeah.
took me. First of all, I almost knocked myself out with one of these metal folding pieces. I'm like, whoa,
Oh my gosh.
oops. But then again, my brain was like, it seems like it'll stay. It'll be fine. And then here it
Mhm.
goes, smacking me beside the head. I'm like, ow. So yeah,
Oh my
just
gosh.
kind
Are
of,
you okay?
yeah. I'm fine. It didn't. It, I'm still conscious, which is a good thing, right?
Right.
um, but yeah, mostly like it being this invisible kind of deal. You won't really notice until I start like giving stories, and I'll jump from the middle of
Mhm.
it to the end, or from the middle to the beginning, and then kind of go from. I'll ping pong through everything.
Right.
And as you guys
I
can see, I love to talk with my hands. I'm a very expressive person with hands.
right. Which that's not too bad. I'm like that way too. I talk a lot with my hands. I'm like struggling right now to keep them at my side. But thank you for sharing. Yeah, that's the most common misconception I think is with rare disabilities and invisible disabilities is that people just, yeah, they just see you and they just assume, which is the worst thing that you could possibly do, is just assume that, you know, that, oh, Slender is fine because the way that he just talks and carries himself is fine, until he starts talking about, hey, I actually do deal with these things. But thank you so much for sharing. And I'm sorry that you deal with that. It's always so tough when you actually have to correct somebody, be like, oh, actually, no, I'm not fine. It's like the worst thing as someone with a rare disease. I noticed too that I kind of am like skipping myself, which is weird. But I didn't answer the question previously before. It was, what symptoms do you experience and how do they affect your daily life? For my disease, I have linear scleroderma, and it's spelled like this. And I told you guys before, the symptoms that you can visually see is my scar and my nose is crooked. Also, depression, like I mentioned before. A lot of us deal with depression in the autoimmune community. I get joint pain, lots of fatigue, loss of mobility, stomach problems, and daily, like my joints hurt. That's why I always stress for like the 3-minute ad breaks that we have. I don't know how long you guys run your breaks, Trip and Slender, but I always do 3-minute ad breaks because I'm like, I need to get up and I need to move my knees because my kneecaps will hurt so freaking bad if I don't do it. Like just being able to stretch even my back on my, like even sitting on my chair, I'm like, I need to be able to move and like do all of those things for my mobility, because if it gets too stiff, it's going to hurt. And for the misconceptions, I think we already kind of like, you do 3 minutes per hour. You could have said that, Slender. Yeah, the 3 minutes an hour. I think that it's so important to make sure that like you're taking care of yourself, especially streamers. If there's any other streamers and gamers in here, like just make sure you set up a little timer for yourself so you can get up like every hour and just, or like stretch if you're able to, you know, go to the bathroom, get some water, do all the things. I appreciate you. Oh my gosh, Blue Magoo, stop. And yeah, so I feel like this condition is rare, so not many people like know about linear scleroderma or speak about it unless they know someone who literally has it. But yeah, people always just think there's nothing wrong with me because I'm so bubbly, and they don't really see mine, you know, my scar, or they don't see like everything that's going on inside of me. So that's the biggest misconception. Oh, to write love on her arm. Stretch while at work too. Welcome in. With love. Yeah. So make sure you guys take care of yourself. Pull up the Be Right Back screen and go stretch. Oh my gosh. Yes, you have to. You have to, have to, have to. All right, y'all. So now we're going to get into the section about medical journey and challenges. We kind of already spoke about these things, but we're just going to get a little bit more in detail. So, what was your experience, Trip, when you were trying to get diagnosed within the medical system?
It was a nightmare, to be honest.
Right.
It took a very long time. I was first prognosed with Marfan syndrome actually while I was in a PHP program.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the therapists noticed one of the things I did when I was anxious is I would like, I do it sometimes still, where because I'm hypermobile everywhere, one of the most calming sitting positions for me to be in is I'll sit with my back against the chair, but my arms wrapped inverse ways. So my right arm will be on my left shoulder and my left arm will be on my right shoulder. It's like giving myself a backwards hug.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it was like a way I'd ground myself. And they just kind of were looking at me sitting like that. And they're like, yeah, that's not normal, right? Like, you shouldn't be able to do that. I just kind of shrugged. And so then they sat down with me. They're like, are you familiar with Marfan syndrome? And I'm like, oh. She's like, okay, I'm putting it on your file. You need to talk to your primary about it. But
yeah,
my primary didn't know what it was. It took a couple years of the symptoms progressively getting worse for me to look back into it again, find a specialist, go to. I moved to Michigan for college, so it did help that I was able to find a specialist in Michigan who could, get my DNA tested and get me the diagnosis. Though, notably, the first time I got tested, because I had to get tested twice. The first time I got tested, they took my blood, but then wouldn't run the test because my insurance bounced. My insurance went, hey, this isn't necessary for their care. Like they'll die with or without it. Like the diagnosis doesn't matter with Marfan syndrome. Like there's no treatment, there's no cure. It's just they just kind of shrugged and went, you don't technically need a diagnosis. And I'm like, okay, screw that. So I went to a different lab to get it done, and they were able to convince my insurance to get it done, to get that positive DNA test, to have it on my file so we could full future insurance things, especially because I ended up having that stroke because of Marfan syndrome symptom. So had I not jumped through that extra hoop, I wouldn't have been able to get my stuff from my stroke covered. So I'm very glad I jumped through that hoop. But it was
glad you
exhausting.
advocated for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's so annoying.
the fight to self-advocate in the United States as a disabled person is atrocious.
Right.
Yeah, it's about having to prove how unwell you are is.
Oh, like, yeah, if you want this test done, you actually have to show signs of this, and then your insurance will cover it. It's so annoying.
Yeah, it's the
I
worst.
hate that. But I'm glad that you advocated for yourself and kept fighting for yourself. That's so important. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, Trip. That's like that just the whole medical experience that like you're telling me, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry that you dealt with that, but I'm so proud of you that you're like so strong and like continue to stick up for yourself and advocate for yourself because it's so important, you know? Because sometimes too, that's why some people just are like, okay, I don't even want to get diagnosed. Like, I'll just not go through with it anymore because they don't want to speak up or speak out because the doctor is supposed to be the professional that knows everything, you know. But
I do understand why some people don't want the diagnosis because they don't. The fight you have to sometimes put up with doctors and insurance, it's exhausting. It absolutely is.
Because you have to do the work.
Right.
No one else is going to do it for you. You got to make all the calls and do all the things that they're asking you to do. It's so annoying.
Yeah, but I will always advocate that it's worth doing because not only does it help, like it definitely was very helpful for my mental health to know for sure what was going on. It helped me spiral less, helped me ground easier, but also, especially if, you know, when we're talking about rare conditions, the more cases that they're able to document, the better.
Or research.
Yeah, I was a case study for abnormal brain structure, partially because of my Marfan syndrome stuff and how that uniquely affects the dura. So by fighting to get, you know, what I needed, it also was able to help them get more data when one thing they don't have a lot of is data.
Yeah, especially for rare disease. And that's why a lot of rare diseases get overlooked, or like the doctors are like, what? Because they don't know, because they don't have that data. That's actually a really good point, Trip. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Also, guys, I do want to tell you guys as well, Trip and Slender, do you guys need a break? One of the mods is checking in. Thank you, Blue Magoo. If you guys need like a toilet break, if you guys need like a quick breather, let me know. I wouldn't mind going to use the toilet right now because I've been sipping my water.
If you need a break, then absolutely. I'm okay.
I'll go. I can go grab a water that I usually do. You know that. Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah. Self-care done. Yeah, I know, but also too, I just want to say too, guys, like doing, because I know not everyone here is streamers and stuff, but like you would be so surprised at the advocacy you could do just by streaming and having conversations like this. There's someone in chat, I'm not going to call them out, but they literally have the same exact condition as me. And I found them through playing like a cozy game. I forgot which cozy game I was playing. And you could, I'm leaving you anonymous and you don't have to come out and say that it's you, but if you want to, you can. Yeah, they have the same exact scar in the same exact area as me, same condition and everything. And I was just like, oh my gosh, there's someone else just like me here on Twitch. Yeah, it's Purple Crystal. Okay, yeah. She one of their friends seen me playing and they're like, oh my God, this girl has like the same scar as you. And then we connected, and then now we're following each other on Instagram and like corresponding back and forth. And it's a rare disease and we are like, countries apart, but there's somebody who like I connected with that has the same condition as me, because I was advocating for people with linear scleroderma, and I was doing the Scleroderma Awareness Month fundraising at that time. So it is really important to speak about things like this. And yeah, I just wanted to give that little disclaimer out. Yeah, I'm so glad you're here, Purple Crystal. Okay, Slender Monk, let's answer this question, and then I'm gonna run to the toilet after. But Slender Monk, what was your experience with the medical system and trying to get diagnosed?
So for me, it's still, what's it called? I've been wanting to like get a better understanding of like psychiatrically and psychologically about my
Patient
whole,
education.
yeah.
Yep. So
And
important for you to know.
yeah,
Mhm.
and to this point, after they gave me like a list of, they're like, okay,
Mhm.
these cover, you can go ahead and call. I called everyone and they're like, okay, so I have this going on. I just want to get
Mhm.
you guys to help me out. They're like, oh, we don't treat people with that disability. And I'm like, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
So mostly I'm still not necessarily in that struggle bus, but right now I'm still kind of like navigating that wave of, okay, how am I going to tell the people that are psychologists or psychiatrists, whoever I need to talk to, that,
Mhm.
hey, it's still an issue that I need to help like navigate to a certain point? Because I've done I
Mhm.
do my own research. I've found like things to that can help me, precisely why I
Mhm.
have a bachelor's degree in psychology. um to like
Mhm.
also kind of understand that I can do certain without necessarily having the medical system come in and help.
Mhm.
I can do things on the side that'll you know make life a little bit easier. I th-
Right.
so yeah,
It would
in
just be
terms
nice to
of
know. Yeah,
yeah,
patient
in terms of
education.
earlier, sorry, in terms of my early
Okay.
years, it was pretty up front because I would go to a specialist for my motor skills, a specialist for my speech. So when I was
Mhm.
younger and my mom was like full on, hey, you're not staying behind, she would jump
Right.
through any hoop that she had to get me the help that I needed. Interestingly enough, I'm gonna take a little segue there. She ended up
You okay?
meeting a parent that had a child with the same disability, but the child was
Oh wow.
already older, and
Okay.
he had a little extra, which was he was missing part of the cerebellum. So when
Oh.
she saw that this parent's child was in a wheelchair and everything, she was like, "Oh no, is that what's coming to my son?" And
Mhm.
she's like, "Nope, that's not gonna happen. We need to work so that he doesn't have to struggle through life like that." But it was
Mhm.
mostly his condition was mostly like in much greater severity because he was also missing
Right.
the cerebellum. Okay, that was my little tangent. And yeah,
It's
that's how
fine.
I've been that's
It
how
makes
I've
sense.
been what's it called, going through the medical system. Like in terms of getting medication, it wasn't really tough. In
Mhm.
terms of things things that don't necessarily go into like mental health, I haven't had much
Mhm.
trouble. When it comes to actually looking for help with my mental health, they're like, we don't really look into that. You're gonna have to do it yourself. I'm like, thanks, guys.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry that you didn't have like it sucks doing research on your own, because I feel like that's totally something that you should be able to get from your doctor. Like when you sit and do those visits with your doctor or at your appointments, like that's where they should be like, okay, like this is the patient education I'm gonna give you about your condition and what would help. Like, you know what I mean? It sucks when you have to do your own research. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you have to navigate through your disease in that way. But yeah, it's like I said, that kind of comes with the territory of having a rare disease, just like Trip said. Like there's not enough um what is it, data on like what everything looks like and how to treat it and all those things. But yeah, thank you for sharing. Also, guys, with me, like my experience with the medical system and getting diagnosed, like I said, it was pretty easy. Visually, they seen and they were like, "Oh, she has some type of scleroderma, linear morphia, or whatever it's called." But they did fly out a specialist from New York, and he was a plastic surgeon, and so I started seeing the specialist when I was like 12 years old. I was literally 12 years old. Keep that in mind. Like, not hit puberty yet, not fully developed in my body, etc. They wanted so hard for me to get surgery to make me look normal. They wanted me to have like Paris Hilton's nose. And that was like all the appointments. So from 12 to 13 years old, they were like, "Oh, you can get this rod through your skull to your gums, and then it's like a screwdriver kind of, so we could like shift it every few months, and then it'll shift the bones in your nose and cover up your scar with the cartilage from the back of your ear." Like, they were just so pushing for me to look normal. And luckily my mom was like, you could do whatever it is you want to do. And we talked about it, and I was just like, I don't want to do that. I'm 12 years old. Like, why would I go through a plastic surgery at 12? So then I kind of just stopped seeing them, because that's what they were doing. They were just kind of pushing me to like look like everybody else,
Yeah, it's
sorry. No, go ahead.
It's all right if I bounce off you here for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's with people with invisible disabilities, there's and ones that become visible, there is sometimes a worryingly big push. Well, they'll try and push you towards looking normal. So that way you're something about in the medical community, if you look if you look normal to them, they seem to be able to rationalize away things a whole lot easier. And the harm that can do to your self-image, I'm very sorry you had to go through that so young. That is very heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was like, it was just so weird too, because like the doctor was explaining, because my mom was like, when you talk to my daughter, like, talk to her, don't just talk to me, and like, oh, do you want her to get no, talk to her, because it's her that's going to have the surgery, not me. So when he was talking to me, I was like, "Sir, what?" Like, it's this huge tall guy saying he's going to stick a rod through my head. I was like, "Sir." So weird. I'm sorry, Trip. I think I cut you off there. What were you about to say?
Oh, no, you're totally good. That was that last was making sure I'd said that right.
Yeah. I can't imagine. Yeah, for my self-image too, it was like, damn, and then I already had kids at school bullying me about about being Asian and about my scar. And so I was like, oh my God, like, is there something wrong with me? Do I need to have this nose job? I was 13. They told me to lose 10 pounds. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's why I'm saying too, like, if you have kids, please please show them that being kind is so important, because their words could do so much damage to another kid at their school. Like, you guys have no idea. So it's so important, Guys, can I take a quick BRB? I need to go potty.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll just come back in Discord. Everyone if you guys are able to, get up and stretch and get a water, grab a drink, grab a coffee. We'll be right back. We're going to head over to a quick intermission. I'm going asking for a care coordinator. They helped me find my specialist and get started in what I have to, because I was so overwhelmed with my diagnosis. Jazz, that's a great tip as well. And also, yeah, don't be afraid to, like, if a doctor doesn't work out for you, don't be afraid to talk to whoever it is you need to talk to and be like, I want a new doctor. Like, I want a different doctor. If you felt like you're not being taken seriously or you're not being heard, it's like, advocate for yourself and be like, hey, this doctor's not working out for me. Don't feel like you have to just be with that doctor. Like, see what you could do to get to a different physician if your insurance allows it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually. What am I?
Is Slender back?
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I wasn't in my scene.
I'm here.
My file explorer came up on my OBS for some reason.
You're fine.
Yeah, I actually recently just had to change one of my doctors because I had a couple. It was my my neuro-ophthalmologist, and I just felt like I wasn't being heard, and she didn't really care about what I needed. She just wanted to research me more, guinea pig, and I'm like, I'm not about that.
Yeah.
I'm coming to you for a reason. You're not fulfilling the needs of my care. I'm going to find someone else.
Yeah. Exactly. Be like so open and don't be afraid. You're not gonna hurt the doctor's feelings. I'm pretty sure you're not. They're gonna get patients and whatever it is. But welcome back, everyone. Did everyone like take a quick break, get some water, do all the things? Are you guests? Are you guys ready, Trip and Slender?
Yeah, I was able to
Um,
go, take a quick restroom break, grab water, stretch a little bit. I usually do that every hour, so I'm like, hopefully we'll do something
me
about
too.
that.
Yeah, I'm glad that I have my mods and my mods, they are like self-care always, self-care first. If I like miss a day, just like Ashleyna said, they're like, it's okay, let's take care of yourself. And that's like so important to have a community like this. Um, let's see. Okay, how do you have difficulty accessing treatment or finding specialists? I think I kind of went over that already. Did you guys have anything else to add about that? I think we went over
Uh,
that a lot actually.
I think,
I covered all the things I had to say on that
Yeah.
topic.
Me too. Um, yeah, just basically advocate for yourself. If you're not comfortable with the specialist or you feel like they're not working for you, switch to a different one. Also, I think you guys can give some good points here about how to advocate for yourself in a medical setting. Trip, how do you advocate for yourself? You kind of already touched on that, but if you wanted to elaborate more, especially if there's someone in chat who like wants to know how they could advocate for themselves as well.
Absolutely. One of the biggest things that I started doing before every doctor's appointment is
Mhm.
research. I would once I had my prognosis and knew what diagnosis I was working towards, or like that I was working towards getting affirmed. I did my research to make sure I was informed on why I needed to see that doctor,
Mhm.
what options were available, because being an informed patient goes a long way towards getting the care you need.
Right.
And yeah, as someone in the chat just mentioned, and then after that appointment, make sure to research the stuff they talk to you about. A
Yeah,
lot of
take
doctors,
notes literally.
yeah, some doctors will give you like a little summary sheet
Mhm.
after an appointment. Research the things they say, research the things on those sheet. It'll help you have a much more well-rounded understanding of what approach is being taken, what's going on. And I think that goes a long way to be able to identify um, not only what's wrong, but how best to describe. Because unfortunately, sometimes you have to describe things in kind of medical terms for doctors to get it,
Mhm.
especially newer doctors or doctors who, let's just say, aren't quite as attentive.
Right.
Sometimes you have to learn to speak their language a little bit to get the care you need. And
That's a
obviously,
really
I
good
wish
point.
that didn't need to be the case, but it often is.
Right. That's a really good point. I like that you mentioned to like just research before you go to appointment. Also, like taking notes, I think as well. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's a really good point, Trip. Thank you for bringing that up. Um, Slender, how do you advocate for yourself in a medical setting?
so at least for me, and if we're talking about picking somebody, go and see how you feel with them. If you
Mhm.
feel comfortable enough and you can actually talk to them, then you're in a pretty good place. For
Mhm.
me, it's not much more of advocating with my for like my diagnosis as much as it is, hey, doctor, this medication isn't working for me. I need I need to change to something else, something that might be similar, but it's not the same. Like, I've gone through maybe 2 or 3 different medications for treating the ADHD, like the ADHD side
Mhm.
effect. Because when I
Mhm.
was, at least for me, when I was younger, I'm like, okay, I'm taking this one. This one makes me feel okay, or like I'll
Mhm.
do the work, but then I'll be a zombie after, where it's like I'll be
Mhm.
it'll mellow me out, and I'm like, I don't like that. Like, yeah, I need something that'll make me focus and do, but I still want to be my
Mhm.
energetic, hyper self, jumping around and stuff.
Mhm.
And that's precisely what I would tell my doctor. I'm like, hey, so this medication's not working, or this medication makes me feel like this. Is there something else that I can take that'll, yeah, do the same thing but have a different outcome? So it's very important to have that notion that yeah, they might give you like a first medication, but that first medication might not be the end all be all. The like, oh, now this is gonna be like the whole what's called, this is gonna be my answer to everything that's gonna help me throughout my with my disease, So very, I think
Right.
that's like a way to advocate for ourselves is once you have the medication, once you're getting treated for your illness, document yourself on how you're feeling with it. Maybe be like, okay, this is making me feel like this. I don't like it, or I do like it, and that's kind of like maybe there's something that will change it, or if it's perfectly fine, just keep it that way. Like for myself, the medication that I was
Mm.
taking at the beginning when I started medicating again was a super high dosage. So
Oh
I
wow.
took it for like
Mhm.
3 days, and my head was like, dude, what are you doing to us? This is my brain wanted to explode. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is not right. Let me put it to the side. Okay, doctor. So here's what happened. Yes, it helped, but it came with major, massive implications to like me being able to do other things rather than just
Right.
focusing on what I had to. Okay. And yeah, that's pretty much my at least my take on like advocating for oneself. Usually when it comes to actually dealing with medical professionals, I haven't had the one-to-one because my mom's
Mm.
been super supportive about, hey, you need to get this going. So, um
Mm.
and up to recent years, ever since I turned into a legal adult and all that, I haven't had the necessity of being like, hey guys, you're not listening to what I need. Do this or help me understand why this is going on. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's my 2 cents.
I like that. I like what you brought up too about like if you get medication, you're journaling your symptoms and how it's making you feel at a certain time. I think that's also really important too, and like being open with your doctor, like this isn't working for me, doc. What else you got? So thank you for bringing that point up because sometimes we can forget like to document those things and how we feel when we're on like new medication and things like that. It's really important to know y'all. So make sure you guys are doing that if you guys are switching meds up. Um, for myself, um, I advocate for myself by I always ask questions. If there's something I don't know, I don't like just how before when I was younger before, I would get kind of shy and just not ask questions. Like you kind of just like, okay, whatever. But now I'm like, okay, what do you mean by that? What do I need to do to fix this? What kind of diet do I need? Blah blah blah. Like I want clarity. Asking for clarity, I think, is so important, especially if you don't understand, because sometimes, like I think Tripp said it, that doctors sometimes you need to explain to them in medical terms, but then sometimes they explain to you in medical terms, and you're just
Right.
like, excuse me, layman's term, please. Like, I don't understand this. Um, so I'm like, can you just like tell me again, explain it to me like I don't like I didn't go to medical school because I didn't. I think that's really important because yeah. Oh my gosh. Seriously, I'm like, what? Explain this term for me because we did not go to medical school. It's yeah, and Val, I don't want to because then if you wait and go home and look up, oh, what was that thing that my doctor said? It's all lost in translation at that point because you forgot the whole sentence that he said or whatever, and you're just trying to like get like just ask him then and there. Just ask them then and there, and then you'll be able to understand. Don't be afraid to quote unquote look like a fool. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, patient education is so important. I want to make sure I understand anything. And also, I want to make sure that by advocating for myself, I want to make sure that I'm not lying to myself and I'm actually telling my doctor everything. Like, even if you think it's TMI, like, it's not. Like, your doctor needs to know. Don't say something because you're like oh, I'm embarrassed, so I don't want to tell my doctor this. No, tell them.
Right.
They've seen the worst of the worst, trust me. Like, they've been through it all. But that's what I think is being honest, open, and asking for clarity and asking questions is my take from, or my tip for how to advocate for yourself in a medical setting. Do you guys have anything else to add about that? I don't know if you guys do.
No, I think you did a pretty good job.
Okay. I think you guys did a good job too. I like all the points you guys have brought up.
I did want to bring up
Yeah.
something. I don't know if I kind of reiterated it or not, but sometimes when great, you have your diagnosis, great, you have like the medication that you need. That first medication might not be the right one for you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
just keep that in mind. Or if you see something like, maybe that might work. It doesn't always usually like go, oh, it's the all in all.
Yeah, it's the cure. It's the cure. Oh my gosh. All right, guys. Now the next topic is managing life with rare diseases. What are some lifestyle changes that helped you manage your symptoms, Trip?
Learning to manage my symptoms took a lot of changes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mentioned, I'm currently using a wheelchair primarily to get around. That was a huge help.
Mm-hmm.
But it was also a really difficult one because for a long time I didn't live somewhere where I could do that. So
Mm-hmm.
prior to that, I also used a cane because one of the main problems that I have with Marfan syndrome is mobility, because it started in my like I started experiencing the breakdown of the connective tissue in my legs first.
Uh-huh.
So I've had many years now, 10+ years of um, minimal leg mobility, where
Wow.
I can walk, but it's extremely painful. So a lot of adaptation there was necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also wear an eye patch. That's also why the my PNG tube wears an eye patch. It's not just a quirky little character trait. um,
Okay. Thank you
with
for
of
sharing, by the way. We
course,
need the lore.
yes, the lore.
Which, by the way,
I
is
have a
super cool.
thank you. I the kind of blindness I have is it's not technically a rare disease, but it's a very rare symptom. It's called
Mm-hmm.
monocular diplopia. Um, it's a rare kind of blindness where the one eye that I have that functions has double vision, which isn't a thing that's normally possible. It happens through extreme damage to the optic nerve that
Mm-hmm.
causes y- double vision like symptoms, but only in one eye. My other eye doesn't see. So I don't have like typically for double vision it requires, you know, two eyes to see. That's why it's called
Mm-hmm.
monocular diplopia. That took a long time to learn to get used to, because objects aren't always where they seem to be. Reading's really difficult. Um, I use a screen reader a lot. Very
Mm-hmm.
grateful those exist. Um, uh, so I'm trying to think because there's a lot of
No, you're
I've
fine.
I've been doing this for so long that sometimes I forget how many changes I've made because
It just feels like a routine, huh?
yeah, I'm very routined. Um, One thing that I sometimes joke at me for, but I stand by it. Those little grabber claws,
Mm-hmm.
love those little grabber claw things that you see at like Dollar Tree, or
For
like
the best, yeah.
they're super helpful for me because I can't really
Mm-hmm.
easily bend over or like
Right.
crouch. I can't really bend my knees.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really. If it's hard to describe, but if I bend my knees, they can lock,
Oh,
and I then
yeah.
have to like put the joint back, and that's excruciating. So finding ways to like reach high. I don't really need things to reach high because my arms are so long, but reach low, like
Yeah.
those little grabber claws. A lot of little things. I think I covered most of the main ones.
Yeah. It kind of just like you don't even notice that you switch something in your routine because you've been doing it for like 10 plus years. So
Yeah.
if anything does come back up though, definitely like interrupt me and say it. But Slender Monk, what about you? Are there any lifestyle changes that have helped you manage your symptoms?
So, what's it called? Bleh, I need to gather my thoughts. Yeah, so there has been things like all, at least like for things like this panel that I know that I have, that I know that are coming up. I'm like, okay, what's going on in my week that I need to get done so I can sit down, relax, and have this chat with you guys. So I'll
Mhm.
usually, if I have something important coming up or something that I know I want to like put my full attention, I'll make sure that I have
Yeah.
all of my things in order before I can actually sit down and just enjoy. So I try and like organize myself. Yeah, I don't use planners or I don't use anything like that because, as I said earlier, I'll use them once, maybe twice, and then that'll not be a what's it called, a thing for me. And but yeah, like I'll look up my like I'll wake up, get myself ready for the day, and then be like, okay, this is what's going on in my day. This is what I need to prioritize. This is what I don't have to worry
Mhm.
about. Kind of like what Ash was talking about. Not to what's it called? Not to beat myself up too much about not if I don't get to certain things um during my day. At least, and for work, I usually ask my boss to have like a list of things that need to be done that day so that I can
Mhm.
follow that list. I'm very good at following very specific instructions and directions. So that's how I try and
Mhm.
structure my day. If it's very like open-ended, like whenever it comes to giving a, like, oh, choose between these five things and they're all things that I like, I'm like, dude,
Mhm.
how am I gonna decide to choose one or
Yeah.
put them in a certain order if I have like I like them all for a certain thing. So I try and keep myself to do as least options as possible. You can even ask Chorizo. Like he'll see my posts and he'll like or I'll talk to him and be like, dude, I don't know what to do. Like I have all of this stuff going around in terms of games, but I want to do this. I feel it's fun, but I also want to do that, and I think it's fun. So I try and limit myself to like my options. I try and keep my day. I kind of go day to day depending on what's like on what's coming up in the week, and I mostly use lists. And at least for stuff at home, since I know how my parents are, I try and create a
Mhm.
routine that won't that'll seem to them like okay he was doing something productive throughout the day even though I had a rough mental day or a rough kind of getting myself into the rhythm of things day. And yeah, that's it.
Right. Right. I like that you use like your routine and your schedule. And I like that your boss too also like accommodates to your autism loves the routine,
it
right?
it
Mytism, right?
it well, and interestingly enough, I might be a little bit of the tism, but I don't know. That's the one thing that's never been really looked at. What's it called?
Dude,
But yeah,
we it's
so I started working with this new
mhm,
boss, which where I'm working now.
mhm.
I've had one boss where I was kind of learning the basics and they wouldn't kind of put me through the ringer, and then the second boss was giving me a little bit more open, and then this third boss is
I
like,
love
okay,
that.
dude, you've been here long enough. Let's get you going. What do you need? How can I help you? How can I help you help me get things rolling?
Hmm.
And then I'm like, okay, so we can try this method out. And yep, it's been working. And yeah.
I love that. For myself, lifestyle changes that I make, I stretch daily. I try to for my mobility. and especially during stream. I think I kind of already touched up the things that I've done that help me, but also what helps me is honestly having people who support me, like a support system. I think is really important. Like my community literally helps me get through every day, honestly, because even when I'm not streaming, like we're chatting back and forth in Discord, and just their presence and them like uplifting each other and chatting with each other and just being a community that's accepting of love and everything. It's just so nice, and it's really helpful. I think also too, a lifestyle change as I think dieting is a big one for me, especially because with my autoimmune disease, it's a lot of like stomach issues and like joints and muscles and things like that.
Yeah.
Eating eating foods that are closer to the earth really help. Like I feel so good. And then when I'm like craving like Taco Bell, I feel like trash the next day, like I was hit by a truck, you know? So, but I do love a good Taco Bell sometimes. But yeah, I think dieting and stretching and keeping up with the gym, because I do love to go to the gym and work out and like power lift. And that's like one thing that gives me like helps me with my like depression too, is like getting those endorphins in. So those things really do help me out. The next topic is
Actually,
how do you?
go on.
Oh yeah, go
I,
ahead.
I,
Okay.
oop,
Oh okay,
I
go
guess we
ahead.
both
Let's go
had
Trip and
something
then
to talk.
Slender. Yeah, we'll go Trip and then Slender. Sorry, go ahead.
You did actually remind me about one of the more unpleasant things I have to do every day because of Marfan syndrome. Little TW here for weird body stuff.
Trigger
Um,
warning. Sorry.
Marfan syndrome causes a very unfortunate side effect where most mornings I will wake up with several dislocated joints,
Oh my
which I
gosh.
then
I'm
have
sorry.
to massage and relocate before I can get out of bed and start my day.
Oh my
They
gosh.
they won't all like it's basic almost never like a full dislocation. They're
Uh-huh.
basically always partial, but I still have to start my day by relocating certain joints to where they're supposed to be. Typically, it's my hips and shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'll have to like kind of massage them and like relocate them before I can get out of bed and start my day. So my first alarm in the morning is typically at 7 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it typically takes me about 20 to 30 minutes to get mobile after I wake up because it's you can't just like kind of shove them in. You have to like very gently relocate them so that way they stay in. Um, it sucks, but it's one of those. It's just it's something I had to put into my routine because I used to just get out of bed like that and just kind of
Uh-huh.
suffer the consequences. I learned that was not smart. So I did a lot of
Right.
research into like in talking to my talking to the specialist I had in Michigan about how to cope with those partial dislocations
Mm-hmm.
that I would
Oh, dude.
wake up with from like tossing and turning in my sleep. I would like because I'm so hypermobile, they would like if I turn over in my sleep weird, my shoulder would just slide out. And it'll stay like that until I wake up and put it back.
Oh my gosh. I bet you have like a really high pain tolerance now that you've like lived with this for so
Oh,
long,
absolutely.
right?
Worryingly
Because
high.
it's like every day you're waking up with your dislocated joints.
Yeah. My chat can concur. I have some stories where, yes, I have a frighteningly high pain tolerance.
Wow. Yeah, I bet, dude. Oh my gosh, you were such a warrior Trip, honestly. Slender, sorry, you had something to say and then I cut you off. I'm so sorry.
I think all three of us cut each other off because we were like, wait a minute,
Yeah, it was
we have
great.
Yeah.
something to add about this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I did want to kind of bring up something that I'll do when when I've had a long day and I know I still need to get some work done. I'll put on depending on what streaming platform there's a show I want to watch or listen to, I'll put a streaming
Mhm.
show on. I'll put my music or I'll put a podcast depending on what's going on, and then I'll boot up a stream and I'll have those three things going, and I'll
Mhm.
open whatever work I need to get done, and then I'll be like, okay, my brain is getting input from all these places, so I can just
Mhm.
primarily focus on that one thing. I know it's odd. but that's just how my how my brain's wired. I'm like, that's something in my I used to back at least
Mhm.
in elementary school, middle school, high school, just kind of go sit in the kitchen table, nothing going on, and
Mhm.
just kind of read. And I'm like, this is not for me. So I switched
Mhm.
that up once I started going into college and university and all that, and so far it's been working. But yeah, that's kind of like a
Background noise
lifestyle
helps you.
change that I've done. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. So background noises help you to focus on like your main task, like to have a like your comfort show on
It,
and
yeah, it'll what's it called? Like having others like stimuli um around
Mhm.
me so that I can focus on that one thing. And then yeah, sure enough,
Mhm.
my what's it called? Curiosity will get the better of me. So I'm like, wait a minute, what were they talking about? Or oh wait, that's interesting. And then I'll go back to whatever I was doing. And yeah.
Right. I like that it works for you though. You know, that's actually like segueing into our next thing. No, I didn't ask this. How does balancing work, hobbies, relationships, or how do you balance work, hobbies, and relationships living with your rare disease? Um, Trip, you can go ahead and start with this.
I've had to learn to, unfortunately, be very vocal. I guess not unfortunately, but it's not how I'm initially disposed. I've had to learn to be very vocal about
Hmm.
how I'm feeling day to day when it comes to things like obligations for work. Um, like I, my friends are all ones who very much are planned. Like they like to
Uh-huh.
plan stuff. We're not. They're not
Hmm.
spont.
Spontaneous.
There's no spontaneity in them at all.
Yeah.
So it'll be very planned moments of doing stuff
Mhm.
together. And I've had to learn to be very vocal about, my day to day is very unsure. I'll wake up some days, and I'll be doing all right. And other days, yesterday, for instance, I woke up in so much pain I couldn't put weight on either leg. So I had to cancel some stuff yesterday, move stuff around, and it was like we talked about earlier, learning to have people close to you who understand
Mhm.
and are understanding, which it was huge, hugely helpful to kind of. Sorry, words are failing me.
Man, we've been talking for
It's
a long
hard.
time.
That,
You're
see, normally
fine.
I'm great at the long rambling. It's just I'm trying to be very specific about my word choice for this one because
Hmm.
the nuances of human relationships are complicated.
It's
And
very cool.
I don't know why I said that like a science, like I was. The
Yeah.
nuances of human relationships are quite complicated, but it's complicated, and
Mhm.
hold the people who are understanding close
Mhm.
and be good friends to them because it's important to have good friends who understand and care. And I've had to learn to almost create like a hierarchy of, you know, m- making time for the people who understand that I struggle to make time.
Mhm. It's really important too to have like friends, especially with a rare disease. And it's also like you said, how it's hard to have human relationships, especially if you're someone who's like quote unquote different.
Yeah,
Because sometimes people don't want to stick around. They don't want to like wait up. They don't want to understand, like, oh, my friend's down to do anything anytime. And why aren't you? You know? So
yeah. I
yeah, I think that's really important.
In that vein, if you don't mind if I elaborate a little more,
Yeah, no,
um,
please.
one thing I have found was learning to embrace the people who were fine with how abnormal I look. Um, because I'm in a wheelchair and I wear an eye patch and sometimes use a cane, I am not a normal looking individual. And I sometimes get some really unpleasant harassment or I get stared at. And it's finding people who were okay and not only being with me, but weren't embarrassed to be with me was huge.
Hmm. That
Very
is
grateful
like,
for those people.
and when you find those people, it just kind of feels like, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky. Like I remember even too dating. Oh my God, don't even get me
Oh
started
God,
with dating.
dating.
Fudge the little
Oh,
pops, dude. Oh my gosh. And dating is a part of the human experience, guys, and it's
yep.
a part of living with a rare disease and everything. And when you're someone who doesn't look like I mean, well, the beauty standards is kind of crazy in this
Yeah, they're
society.
ridiculous.
They're really ridiculous. People don't look like they do on Instagram 100%. That's why I'm like, I, I tell people all the time, like it's more about the personality, trust me, because you can get someone who looks like a model but treats you like poop, and that's not good. But like what Trip said, so people don't when you have a rare disease, especially that affects the way you look, people don't want to, like, I've literally had people who are like, and this goes kind of with dating. I've had someone message me and they were saying like, I would date you because you're like so funny and so nice, but you have a scar and I can't get past that.
Oh,
Like, and this was when I was in like school. This was when I was in like high school or like middle school or something like that in high school.
yeah.
Like I had these things happen, and that kind of does like that kind of makes you feel like unworthy, doesn't it? I don't know, Trip or Slender, if you guys have dealt with that. Like it kind of
Yeah.
makes you feel unworthy. You're just like, oh wow, like these people don't want to be my friend because I look a certain way, or they don't want to date me because I look a certain way. It kind of makes you feel like really bad about yourself,
Wait,
It was
I
definitely a
misheard my name.
problem.
Sorry about that. I'm like, wait, what?
No, you're fine.
Yes, we were just
So,
asking if you have input on this one.
oh, well,
Yeah.
yeah,
If you,
sorry. I got
Mhm.
distracted precisely because of a work call, so I just went ahead and put that on
No,
the
oh my
side.
God. Don't apologize for that.
So for me, it's mostly been, as I told you guys, I like to be very high energy, very happy, and that's
Mhm.
mostly just the way that I am. I don't like to bring the mood of anything down. So I'm always very hyper, very high energy, trying to make you guys laugh, trying to make you guys have a good time, because that's just my
Mm.
personality. And some people are like, dude, do you really have to be like that all the time? Is it really something that you're gonna do, um, that you're looking to do? It seems just unnatural and very much more like, stay away from me. I'm like, really, dude? Just because
Those
I don't
people
want
are
to
not
be,
your friends. I'll
yeah,
tell you
I'm
that
like,
much.
Agreed.
Those people
just
are
because I
not your
don't want to
friends. The
be a
people who,
sour, yeah, just because I don't want to be a
the
sour
people,
Sally all the time doesn't mean that I don't have those moments, but I choose not to share those moments with people that I want to just enjoy the time with. But
right.
sorry.
No, don't quit doing that. What you
I
call it? What was I
it's
gonna say? Those people are not your friends, Slender. I'll tell you
yeah.
that much. If they are saying that you're too much, or the way if they're like trying to make you change yourself, those are not your friends. And that's like
What's
what Trip was saying. It's really hard to find them, but when you
yeah.
do find the friends that accept you for like who you are and embrace you, and like Val said, finding friends who embrace your disabilities are such a rare thing, and they're treasures. Like even with your ADHD, if you're like a little scatterbrained and you talk about, if you have 5 different conversations in like one sentence, which is what I do all the time, and someone's like, "Oh, why do you do that?" or whatever, they're not worth your time.
Yeah.
Just period. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and in
Um,
terms of relationships and friendships and all that, when I was younger, everyone got annoyed that they wouldn't get to do like the fun stuff just because I was always lagging behind on any work that we were doing. Granted, like I knew my numbers, I knew my letters, I knew most of the things, but then when it came down to, okay, I need to sit there, do the work, everyone would finish pretty quick, and then I'm like lagging behind, I'm almost there. And then you're like, by the end of the
right.
day, like, dude, we didn't get to do anything fun because you were, what's it called, still working on that work that the teacher had given us, and we all finished pretty quick.
Right.
I'm like, it's out of my control, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the way you learn too is like, yeah, I hated that. Like people were so fast at like learning math, and I just was not. I was just like the person who was behind in class too the whole time, like trying to get it explained to me over again. But yeah, it's tough, isn't it?
Yep.
Um,
Absolutely.
And in terms of relationships, I'm not looking, or I haven't had any much of a what's it called interaction with that. So I'm like, whatever happens, happens.
right? I just flow with the go, I go with the flow. Um, yeah, how I Wait, how I balance my work, hobbies, and relationships with my disease is I'm just honestly open. Like I said, with my partner, I'm very open. I'm like, hey, I feel like not doing anything today. I need to rest and recover. And my if my body is telling me that my joints aren't feeling well today, I'm gonna go with that. Um, I find it like best to be honest with myself instead of trying to push myself, even though that's kind of like how we all grew up is you got to be strong and like push yourself to do the most maximum amount of work and get the most done in a day. It's very like it's very difficult for me to be that way. So yeah, I always prioritize rest and just being open with people. Um, is there anything else you guys want to add about balancing work, hobbies, relationships?
Yeah, I'll because you mentioned specifically like relationships was like romantic relationships. I can touch on that. I actually just recently came out of my first healthy relationship where I didn't
Nice.
feel like being disabled made me a lesser or worse partner, and I hadn't experienced that before, and it really helped my self-esteem a lot, understanding that at least having someone who did understand that because I look different and I am different doesn't
Mhm.
make me lesser or worse in those kind of ways.
Right.
But it definitely can be it can definitely be a bane to until you've experienced that. It can kind of loom over you if you
Yeah.
let it.
Yeah, especially when you get in relationships when like people aren't like they don't have your best interests, they don't really care about your condition and whatever it may be. Yeah, once you get
Yeah.
with like that, once you get with you know, you think you're going through all the motions and then you find someone who actually accepts you and then you're like, "Oh my God, there's people out there that are willing to like help me, not help me, but like work with me and what is it called? What is the word called in a relationship when you like oh my gosh, it starts with a C. I can't even think. Um, it's like if I don't like to do something, but my partner does, he'll do it because I like to do it. What is that word? It's on the tip of my huh?
Um,
You know what I'm talking about.
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I'm having a brain fart. Um, oh my gosh.
Compromise.
Okay.
Compromise.
Compromise. There we go. Yes,
That's
compromise.
the
Yes,
one.
yes, yes.
Yeah, I was
Sacrifice and
blanking out
compromise.
too, guys.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Yes, compromise. Like once you find some, there's people out there who are willing to work with you and really like get to know like okay, I need to like understand their condition and understand how to be a better partner to them. There are people like that. I know our brains just did the buffering.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we could skip this next question, and then at the end we can all tell like our it was. I'm sorry, was that Slender?
I did want to add something
Oh yeah, go ahead.
in general. So,
Mhm.
at least a tip or something that I would like to kind of bring up is you guys should find something additional to do aside from all of your hobbies and things because we're very prone to get burnt out. Some of us, at least with rare diseases, might get burnt out much quicker. Like myself, I'll
Mhm.
have a new hobby or a new interest every few months because I'm like, I need to find something else that'll keep me
Mhm.
distracted long enough that I'll remember that I have this
Mhm.
other hobby that I really like and I'll be fresh again to get back into that hobby. So
Mhm.
definitely find things that'll help you not necessarily burn out so quick. Okay.
Yeah, that is a really good tip. Because also too, I think when I think I read this somewhere, but when you're learning something new, you actually like your brain, it feels like time goes slower because you're like not, you're out of your routine that you do every day. So time flies by. But when you're like learning something new, your brain is like processing this new thing and you're just actually enjoying it or actually learning something and the
Yes.
time slows down. Yes. Is that true?
Yes, I can.
Yep.
One of my special interests is neurology, the like brain shit. So I got you. Forming
Let
of
me know.
forming of neural pathways releases like happy chemicals in a way that helps your brain like ground and stay in the moment. It's one of the reasons why like um a lot of cultures have like those they would memorize like monks would memorize hand patterns when they're
Mhm.
meditating to be constantly forming and reaffirming neural pathways so they are more rooted in the moment and their perception of time isn't blurring like it is when your brain is going through a well practiced neural pathway because your brain kind of likes to skip to the end when it's
Mhm.
doing something it's done a lot of before So
Mhm.
when you're doing something abnormal and are forming a new neural pathway, it literally feels like time is slowing down a little bit.
I knew I was onto something. We kind of already talked about this a lot, but just to go more in detail, how has has your condition, rare disease, affected your mental health? We can go with you, Trip. And also, if there's anything that you don't want to talk about, you can totally skip the question. No questions asked. No, nothing. There's nothing that you have to share here. You can
Yeah,
keep
so
anything you want to yourself.
this is actually something I'm very vocal about. I
Mhm.
I I don't hide the fact that having Marfan syndrome has been very detrimental to my mental health over the years.
Mhm.
Because the life expectancy for people with Marfan syndrome is low.
Mhm.
The earlier it sets in, the shorter your life expectancy. Because once it sets into your aorta, there's not much they can do.
Okay.
There's a couple experimental surgeries, but the success rates are very low. So
Mhm.
I when I was prognosed with it when I was still like a young teenager.
Mhm.
So as I was growing up with kind of that hanging over me, it definitely caused a lot of issues with my mental health. Um, I also have brain damage, so my mental health has always
Mhm.
kind of been a very confusing landscape.
Right.
But the Marfan syndrome specifically definitely has impacted me. Depression is a big one.
Mhm.
Um, and it kind of I found negatively feeds into the other issues I do have. It kind of amplifies sometimes some of the symptoms I'll experience from other things because um, I it's something that gets talked a lot about in when I was previously in support groups. It's
Mhm.
like I'm trying to think of what the term they use. There's a proper term for it in psychology. I'm just going to use what we called it in the group, which was the Reaper's shadow. Um, it can kind of just make all the other symptoms feel more extreme when you also have the fragility of mortality on your mind all the time.
Mhm. Yeah, I could that I'm sorry that you have to deal with just that deal with the depression and everything that comes with it because yeah, I could see how that would affect somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um yeah, but
but I am
sending you
glad
so
to
much
say
love.
my mental health has been much better the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Um, as I've gotten older and as I've gotten closer to that end of the life expectancy years I was given,
Mhm.
but the fact that I haven't had my heart drop, like
Mhm.
literal heart drop, by the way, with the aorta, it literally drops.
What?
Um, yeah,
Like it
it,
falls out of place?
yeah, they call it heart
Damn.
drop. It's
Oh my gosh.
it's where like the connective tissue in the aorta will fall apart and your heart will sag. It causes like a special kind of heart failure.
Oh wow. Oh my gosh, dude. That
Um,
is so scary.
yeah, I try not to think about it too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm turning 25 this year, which
Mhm.
was the year I was given when I was initially diagnosed that I wouldn't make it to. But
Look at you.
I'm doing really well, and
Yeah.
so I'm gonna hit
Congrats on
that
that,
birthday and
dude.
I'm gonna enjoy it. Thank you. So yeah, it especially early on from my diagnosis, it was a big one for me. These days, it just
Mhm.
kind of makes it makes those bad mental health days a little worse, but
Mhm.
I've thankfully learned to adapt, I think, very well.
Yeah. Yeah, you're so strong too, by the way. Just it's been such a pleasure to talk to you about this too because I've never met anyone with your condition. So, I'm learning so much. What the heck? That's literally so crazy. Can we get some hype in chat for Trip, please? You can do !hype. I don't know if you guys have hype messages in your channels. Is heart surgery an option for in the future? Val says.
Yes, it's something they're researching more about to try and perfect because
Mhm.
since there aren't a ton of cases, somewhere around 200,000 Marfan cases diagnosed in the U.S. per year.
Mhm.
It's about 1 in 500 people will have some degree of Marfan syndrome, but this heart drop problem only happens in the most severe of cases.
Mm.
So you take that 1 in 500, and it becomes about 1 in 50,000. who has what they call terminal Marfan syndrome, where their heart will drop. Um, so they are still working to perfect it. There have been some successful cases of a fixed heart drop, just not many.
That's so interesting. Slender, how has your condition affected you mentally?
So mentally, it's been a struggle for me because growing up, I was, as I told you guys earlier, the kids at school were like, dude, we don't do anything fun. So I
Mm-hmm.
was bullied a lot of the time. And most of the time, since my parents really kind of threw that on the side, my dad's a very like, you're gonna do it because you're gonna do it, and there's no ifs and or buts about it. Even no matter how you're feeling, no matter what's going on, va a pasar porque va a pasar. And you're like, and as everyone's saying, I was
I'm
like,
proud of you,
but the
dude.
spoons. I'm like,
Mhm.
but yeah.
Yeah.
So I struggled a lot with like kind of um repressing a lot of the things
Mhm.
and being like, it's just part of the things that happen, I guess. So might as well go with it. And so I went like that throughout life, and then my parent, I guess at some point my parents were like, maybe we should take a little bit more serious what he's going through. So they started supporting a little bit more about the medication and stuff like that to like help me,
Mm-hmm.
because along with not having the corpus callosum and me having ADHD, like it's a chemical imbalance. So usually what I take
Mm-hmm.
is to balance out the chemicals, and then I'll be
Mm-hmm.
pretty much fine. So yeah, a lot of it was getting used to me not being okay, but putting on that mask that needs to what's called that everything needs to work out. Even what's called even more so that I'm the oldest of four siblings. So we're
Yeah.
all boys. I'm the
You
oldest.
gotta look like the strongest.
Tengo que ser el
Mm-hmm.
ejemplo. I need to be the example for everyone. So, you know, that like my with mental health, that's been like my whole journey. Thankfully, I started doing computer science when I went into college. 2 3 years
Mm-hmm.
into it, I'm like, that's not gonna work for me. And then you
Mm-hmm.
guys, no, remember how I told you guys about it being like me having too many choices and I don't know?
Yeah.
So I kind of fell into that, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
really? So I ended up jumping into psychology so I could boost up my GPA, and then I could go
Mm-hmm.
into either speech pathology or some sort of therapy field. And then I realized, I'm like, if that's too much, and knowing myself, I'm not gonna be enjoying it. So I'm like, okay, let me stick to psychology. And that's where I got some neuro classes. That's why when I heard Triple talking about neurology and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, I know a few things about that. So I got excited.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but yeah, I got through learning through psychology, even though I have, it's just a very basic bachelor's degree. It helped me kind of
Mm-hmm.
understand and be able to adopt a few techniques or a few things that I'm like, okay, this might not work all the time, but it's a start where it can help me be myself, be able to work through things and stuff like that. So I hope that answered the question. I feel like I went all over the place on that one.
Mm-hmm. No, you're fine. Yeah, I think you did touch upon it, but that's interesting to hear. So you're saying though that mentally it helped you to take classes that helped you like to understand more.
It's yeah, because I was what's it called? Once I understood what I had, my parents
Mm-hmm.
didn't really know how to explain it. They just kind of told me, "Hey, this is what they told us, and this is what you're going through. So it might be good for you to get extra help in college or in the
Right.
university." I'm like, okay,
Because
cool.
now it's up to you though, Slender,
Yeah.
like to understand your
And
condition.
that's
There's a
that's
question in chat
why.
for you.
Oh, oh,
Sorry. I just wanted to, if you're comfortable with answering, Blue Magoo, this was for Slender, right? I didn't, I want to be mindful of everyone's time, but I just wanted to, like redirect you to that question. I'm sure Blue Magoo was talking, to you or directing that
oh,
question to you.
it.
Mhm.
The only reason why I don't. Okay, yeah, I've openly talked to my parents about it, and I've even like shown them and made them understand that, hey, this is what I'm going through. This is what happens. I've gotten classes that talk about it. Gotten classes that
Mm.
help me know how to research it. So yeah, they'll listen to me and they'll understand me, but then here comes the thing about them whenever I bring it up or whenever I start talking about it, they'll be like, okay, now you're just bringing it up as an excuse. Now you're just bringing it up as a crutch rather than being like, maybe we
Mm.
should be mindful about it. So I choose not to talk very openly about it with them. Like, and precisely
Mm.
I was telling Liz and a few others, I'm like, this is the first time that I'm actually sitting down for a proper panel and like being open, like fully open and transparent about my experiences, like my own like journey with this rare disease. I know I've talked about it briefly in my channel. I know I've talked about briefly
Mm.
with like close friends of the channel, but that's about it for me. Oh no. Okay. Sorry, I saw my screen kind of go dark and I'm like, wait a minute. What happened?
You're okay.
Okay, but yeah,
Mm.
hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I think that was a good answer, Slender. I also, I'm sorry that, you're not like, I'm sorry that it's hard for you at home, but I'm glad that you're able to openly discuss it here with everybody. And it is really a hard thing sometimes when you're diagnosed with a rare condition and speaking about it, and especially at home if it's not easy. It's like it's so difficult, but I'm sorry that that's something you have to deal with, but I'm glad that you found at least,
It's
hopefully this is a little bit cathartic for you, and this gives you some type of like reassurance that you're not alone in this.
I'll just say this, it makes me feel more comfortable to kind of be vocal about things that go on, you know? Because I personally, yeah, like I'll have it in mind and I'll share it with a few people that I feel like are comfortable enough to do it, but not with everyone, because unfortunately, there's also people that have that same mindset of my parents have with some of this and be like, dude, it's just
Mhm.
an excuse at that point. I'm like, guys, it's things that happen.
Right. um I know, like Mab was saying, it's a Latin family thing. Yeah, it's Hispanic households are they're tough ones for sure. I got lucky because I have a really young mom, and this actually I can answer this question how it affects me and my mental health. When I was younger, trigger warning, huge trigger warning. I suffered a lot with depression and suicidal ideation, and at a very young age, when I was 12 years old, seeing those doctors is when that stuff started happening as well. And my mom, she was open and there for me, and she was like a huge help, and I'm so grateful for her because it just goes to show how much your parents can help you. You know what I mean? And they should help you and be there for you. But yeah, that's how it affected me mentally. And it was just like, getting bullied at school for the way I looked, and just having to hear it all the time. But yeah, in Hispanic households, it can be really tough. I didn't get that from my dad, but I definitely got like, some comfort and support from my mom, thankfully.
Yeah.
But it could be really hard, growing up in a family dynamic that kind of looks at you more like, oh, you're using this for an excuse. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
You better, yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. You can't. It's not being lazy. It's like you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One of
it's
the
so sad.
so
Hmm.
one thing I always like to say when it comes to like people accusing you of laziness, if you're
Hmm.
enjoying it, if you're not enjoying the rest you're having, it's not laziness. If you are having to be inactive because you're in pain, that's not what laziness is.
Mhm.
Laziness is when you are able to do something and intentionally don't, because you would it
Mhm.
for insert XYZ reason for being lazy. But not being able to do something because you are physically unwell is not the definition of lazy.
That's a really good point, Trip. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, exactly. Slender. It's like just if you're not able to focus and do something, that's like not your fault. It's not you being lazy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I've just like decided or tried to have a routine that doesn't really
Mhm.
like mentally tax myself, because then I'm like, okay, I can do all this and I'll get them off my back and be able to do things. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely like laziness isn't so much in our case, because at least for me a lot of it is the what they call the ADHD paralysis, where you have so many things that you need to get done and you can do them,
Mhm.
but you're like, I don't know where to start, or I can't get myself to start doing something and then be able to
Mhm.
go from there. Like that's one thing that I do try and take my medication most of the time, so it can help me with
Mhm.
that aspect of the whole thing.
Right. Um, this next question, we kind of already talked about it. What helps you stay hopeful and motivated despite the challenges? Um, but if you guys have anything else you want to add, Trip,
I do
um,
actually.
yeah. Mhm.
Um, I have found that one of the main ways that helps me get through the day to do the stuff I have to do, both as
Mhm.
someone who, I'm thankfully I don't have a very taxing job, but also as someone
Mhm.
who's a college student on top of that, I have found I am a very momentum based creature.
Right.
I can sit down and get a whole bunch of stuff done in a row, but
Mhm.
doing like little bits here and there just doesn't really work for me. I have to sit down and plow through it all
Mhm.
because I have such unreliable energy. When I have enough energy, I just have to expend it. I have
Yeah,
to
utilize
get it
it.
done. Yeah, I have to utilize
Yeah.
it while I got it.
Mhm.
And it that helps me when I'm sometimes feeling down on myself, like, oh man, I really got to do that paper. But
Mhm.
I'll remember when I have the energy, I'll get it done, and I'll get probably
Right.
three other things done. I just got to wait for have to be kind to my body. I have to do what I know I should do. Wait for me to
Mhm.
have the spoons and then use them. I can't distress over the energy I don't have. I need to
Mhm.
be patient with myself and let myself get that energy instead of burning myself out with the little half a spoon I have, and that prevents me from getting it done.
Right. Right. Thank you for sharing. That's kind of I'm kind of similar in that way, but um talk some more about that after Slender goes. Slender, you did mention before that having lists help you stay motivated. Is there anything else with
It
your condition that helps you stay hopeful and
it
motivated?
Yeah, it's so the lists are usually to keep myself on on
Mhm.
track, on task of whatever needs to be
Mhm.
done for the day. Because if I don't have those, I'll just kind of I'll do the start something, leave, start something else, and then nothing gets done. It's just a whole bunch of
Right.
things that are started. Um, I just kind of think about what's gonna come towards the end of the whole ordeal. Sometimes if it's I call it an ordeal, but at the end of my list, sometimes that might
Mhm.
be me going to go teach a class on a subject that I like to talk about. Sometimes that'll be me actually sitting down to set up a stream. That might
Mhm.
be, hey, today's just a day where I'm gonna hang out and chill out, but I need to get all of these things done. Afterwards, I'll go
Mhm.
buy a snack, or I'll go eat out and kind of have that as my little incentive to be like, okay, I was able to be productive, I was able to do something proper and all that, and then go from there.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
I'm like Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
That's at least my input on that subject.
Thank you for sharing. I'm like the same way too. I need like lists. I'm like a mix of both of you guys. I'm like I need a list of things, right, to get done, but kind of like Trip, I need to have energy. Like if I planned that I was going to clean up, like deep clean the house and I don't have energy, like I'm not going to force myself to do it. It literally has to be when I have like that burst of energy and then I can get through all of my tasks that I have on my to-do list. But then I struggle with that because I'm not like I'll forget to eat just to finish this task because I'm like, no, I'm focused on this one thing, so I have to finish it. And then you know what I mean? And then you're like, oh gosh, why am I so hungry? Because I can't if I step away and stray away from the energy, it's gone, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, it's so bad. I hate how I'm that way sometimes. But I'm sure a lot of people could relate to that. But it's so funny because you're like, once your brain is going, then you're good. But yeah, that's something I definitely have to work on. All right, so how can people be better allies as like friends, family, whatever? How can people be better allies to people like us with rare diseases?
I really think Ash hit this on the head when she was here earlier. Um, I think, yeah, she summed
Yeah.
it up perfectly. I don't really
Yeah.
have anything to add.
That's fine. That's fine. I was just asking because I know we do kind of we're yappers. We kind of talked about we kind of
Yapper.
answered like all these questions. Like now that I'm looking at all the questions, I'm like, we literally talked about this, but
It
it's because we yap a lot.
it
Go ahead,
it
Slender.
sounds I was say it sounds a little bit redundant, but it's because we didn't focus on that primarily. We're eh.
It's
You're
just
hosting
natural though
this. You're
for us to be
hosting this and doing a
humans.
great job, by the way. I'll just say that out loud right now. You're doing great.
Thank you.
Secondly, how to help us. At least in my case, you guys just have to be a little bit more patient with me. I'll
I
get
like the
to where I need
honesty.
I'll get where I need to be. It might take me a little bit longer than everyone else. Uh yeah, and if we're gonna be working together, have a list of things that you're thinking or that you might know that we might need to get done. Not that I won't have a list already kind of in the works
Right.
because I do like to be prepared and not kind of just show up and do whatever. Like what was it?
Right.
Was it a few days ago or was it a few weeks ago when you were thinking about planning and I asked you, "Hey, so what are we talking about?" And you're like, "Yeah, that'll come out, but at a later date." I'm like, "Okay, I'll just sit here and wait." But
I was like, okay, I'll make a list of questions, but yeah, so lists really help you and just to be more patient.
yeah, that's what's called in general, I would say that at least for most of us, with
Mhm.
disabilities, be patient with us because yeah, we might not be the same as everyone else, but we still
Mhm.
are working hard to go through
Yeah,
this game called life.
that's well said, Slender. I like that. Um, I had, like I said too, I think we've covered this already, but one thing I had written down was just be open and honest with people. Like if you're my friend and let's say we're out somewhere and you're just like, hey, Liz, I don't know, like if someone stares at you, what do you want me to say, blah blah blah, do you, or maybe hey, if there's something heavy that you need to lift up, do you want me to like help you or do it for you? Just be honest and open and ask them, how can I be a good friend to you, or if we're in this setting, like what would you want me to do, or just things like that. How can I be a better ally to you? Because I think it's kind of subjective too to the person, because there's some people who they don't want you opening up every door for them because you think they're incapable of opening a door. You know what I mean? So I would just ask and be honest and open with your friend, or ask how you can be a better ally. I think being a better ally is just spreading awareness and being kind to people. Just like Ash said, just be kind and be patient with people, like Slender said. Um, but um, what do you guys wish people knew about your rare disease, or more people knew about your disease? Trip?
Frankly, I just wish more people knew it existed.
Right. I'm laughing because I'm on the same boat. That was literally what I
Yeah.
put. Yeah, just I wish more people just knew about it. Yeah.
Yeah, especially since coming to college, I'll have so many people ask me, "Hey, what's with the eye patch or what's with the wheelchair?" And I'll give
Hmm.
them an answer, and they'll be like, "Yeah, that doesn't help." I'm like,
They're like, explain.
"Well," and I have to go into a whole explanation.
Right.
But it's just like some more
Yeah.
awareness would be nice.
Yeah.
More about people have, or at least like I don't need like everyone in the world to know what it is,
Right.
but I also get sometimes people get frustrated with me with like that doesn't help, and I'm like, see, how if and I just
Right.
right because if I'm one of those kind of people where I kind of mentally script certain interactions that happen frequently,
Hmm.
so that way I they don't frustrate me because as someone who the eye patch especially, um, yeah, it's like it's like an elevator pitch. Like I kind of sum it up in a short way. And I typically
Hmm.
don't like to expand outside of that unless I know the person really well. Because when it comes to disability, things can very quickly become very personal.
Hmm.
I'm totally fine people knowing, hey, I have brain damage, or
Right.
I have Marfan syndrome, but kind of outside of that little elevator pitch, um, I try not to expand too much to people who don't know because my health journey is pretty personal, and I don't like to outside of safer spaces like this. I don't really like to just tell people my life story the moment I meet them.
That makes sense. What about you, Slender? What do you wish people knew more about your
Uh,
disease, your condition?
that it's there, you know? It might not seem like it, or I might not
Yeah.
exhibit like some of the symptoms might not be like super prevalent, but it's important to know,
Hmm.
hey, he's not normal because there's actually something going on. He's not just he's not normal because he's being lazy or he's not normal because yada yada yada. There's actually a cause behind all of what's going on, you know? I think that's probably the
Right.
more something important to show for like people need to understand that not everyone might be normal, but kind of yeah, that I was trying to word it appropriately, but I think that's gonna pretty much sum it up. With my
No, I get what you're
condition, it's
saying.
not, yeah, with my condition,
Hmm.
it's not all that, at least from my experience and interestingly enough, I think I'm the only person that I know of that has this condition. So it's very hard
Me
for me
too. Oh, yeah, the only person I knew.
to kind of be like, oh, I've talked to so many other people that have the same
Hmm.
condition, and this is what we've talked about or what we think about. You're like, I don't know, just a matter of people understanding that, yeah, it might not seem that we're different, but there is something there to just kind of be mindful about.
Right. Right. That kind of segues into what I wrote down for this. I wish more people understood that all rare diseases and diseases, chronic illnesses, invisible disabilities look different. And just like what Senator Monk was saying, just because you can't see it doesn't mean that it's not there. Some are invisible, some are not. Don't downplay someone's symptoms or how someone's feeling, or like how we were talking about, like the laziness and all those things earlier. Um, like I just wish people understood that. And that's kind of just with like humanity. Like there's a lot of people in our society who will just be so quick to judge, but not ready or willing to understand and learn. So that's what I put down for mine. But my next question was, how can social media and streaming be used to educate and support others? And we kind of touched on this earlier as well. So if you guys don't have any input on this, that's fine, because we've been yapping about that like this whole stream as well. But if you guys have any other input on it, yeah, Trip, do you have any?
Sure. I got a little bit. One of the main things I've done is when I decided that I wanted to be more open about my disability
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that in the online space I do, it's part of
Mm-hmm.
why I actually decided to stream with this little PNG tuber who is always wearing an eye patch because it's one, I think people have kind of forgotten that eye patches are, not just pirate shit. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's it's part of my disability. I wear it to help my remaining vision function. Um, that's a whole other kit to boodle. But as someone who there isn't really, like you mentioned in chat, representation really matters. And as someone who never really had that in a lot of the like air quotes normal, I guess typical media I wanted to kind of be that in the streaming space and to be very vocal and spread awareness for something that's it affects me every single day. And it will continue to affect me every single day for the rest of my life.
Right.
And when you're dealing with a disease that most people don't even know exists,
Mm-hmm.
even though I'm not, all that impactful, I suppose, in the space as of yet, the fact that I have been able to educate people on, on Marfan syndrome, on I also do a lot of stuff talking about, brain damage stuff because I also suffer from brain damage.
Mm-hmm.
Putting myself out there and making that space exist, I think has gone a long way.
It
Um,
literally.
at least for myself, if nothing else.
I think it adds to, like, it helps you, the streamer, but also your community. Even if you guys don't have the same condition, like I know with my community, when I did my first, which was last year, I did Scleroderma Awareness Month, and I did like a charity stream, and I was telling my story like every day, like little bits and pieces of my story and growing up with it. A lot of people came out and was like, yeah, I have this disease too, and I have this, and it just created a safe space for all of us to like support and be there for each other. So thank you for representing your condition and creating a community and a safe space for other people to feel welcome. That's like very important.
Yeah.
Um,
I unfortunately missed Marfan Awareness Month. It's February, but
oh no.
I just didn't have the spoons this time around to do something
Yeah.
for it because I mean I've been really busy. I just recently came back from a streaming hiatus from not having internet for several months. So
Ooh.
I wasn't ready to jump right into a big, thing for Marfan Awareness Month, but it's something I've been keeping an eye on to try and do. It's just
Hey, if
unfortunately
you need help
February.
on February, next February, we could do something.
I'll put it on the calendar to
Yeah.
try and make something happen for 2026.
If you need help, hit me up. I mean, I'm not the best person. I'm not an expert or anything, but I could definitely do something.
You're pretty cool. You don't have to downplay yourself by saying you're not the best person. I don't know who you consider the best person is, but you're pretty cool.
Me? No, I'm kidding. Okay. Slender, how can social media or streaming be used to educate and support others?
I think providing spaces like this, I think this was a great idea. Was I really confident about coming into here and kind of talking about it? I'm like, no, not really. But then kind of going over it and talking about it, I might actually be a little bit more open to do this with my own community and with my own little spaces now, So,
Yeah.
from myself, and I'm pretty sure Trip as well, thank you for like providing this
Aw.
space for us to kind of
Actually,
share. Oh, which by the way,
yeah.
you guys were talking about awareness months and everything. There's no awareness month for Agenesis of the Corpus Callosum.
No.
But I did check. I
What?
did see that July 2nd is when they like recognize that there is there is disorders with the corpus callosum. So I'm like, hey, at least I have a day.
Maybe you could, yeah, maybe you could find like maybe you could do some type of stream or something and find like a charity, because there should be, there's a bunch of foundations that do research and charity and things like that. But oh my gosh, Trip, Val is so right. Today's the last day of Marfan Awareness Month, so you did something.
I did do a thing.
Yeah, you did.
Thank you, Val, also for reminding me. July's Disability Awareness Month. I did a lot of stuff for Disability Awareness Month with a group called the Spoon Platoon. And that was tremendous.
Cool.
That's run by another creator on here called Cosmic Quartz.
Ooh.
It was a great event. It was very tiring because I was doing lots of streams at weird hours to keep the train going the whole month. Um,
Oh yeah.
but it was a great project. Also, I guess I'll plug them here a little bit too. I'm a member of a stream team called the Disabled Content Creators Collective, the DC3. That
I love that. Sorry.
Because we did disability related things throughout the year as well. So
Sound like superheroes. I love that. The DC3.
the name is great.
The name is so good, dude. And Spoon Platoon, that's such a good name. We could skip this next question that I have listed here. I'm just going to tick it off because just for time's sake, you know. And if you guys wanted to add your answer at the end of our closing statements, you guys can. So, sorry. We're getting close to the end here, guys. So each panelist share one last message they want people to remember. And then, yeah, if you guys have any last closing words to say, and then you can add whatever, like if you guys have any support groups or foundations that you guys want to shout out that you guys have done research for, or whatever it is, donations and things like that, you guys can definitely plug those too. Trip, you can go.
Alrighty. I'll actually kind of address those backwards. I'll start with the groups that do stuff for Marfan syndrome. The main one that we have in the world really is the Marfan Foundation.
Do you have their link?
I should, but I don't.
Okay, it's okay. We can get it later.
I turned off my bot partway through, which has the command for it.
That's literally what I did too. That's so funny.
I had it in there for because I've done stuff for them before.
Yeah.
They as far as I know, I did contact them at one point to do a charity stream for their like to raise money for them, but that's not really a thing they do. Yes, it is marfan.org. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Oh my god. WMods.
They have like their own charity drive stuff that they do, and they didn't want to they didn't really know what Twitch was, I think was.
Yeah, a lot of them, you know what? That's common because I ran through that same thing too.
But they're the main source of research for Marfan syndrome worldwide, and yeah, they're the main one I point people to who want to learn more about it from an actual good source instead of just random Google articles. Then a message for people to remember. I'll be honest. When I looked through the questions for this, like last week or whatever, when you sent it out, I really struggled to think of something for this.
That's okay.
But if I could kind of leave the audience with a point to remember, it'd be I would just kind of want people to remember this disease exists because it affects 1 in 500 people. Might not sound like a lot, but considering even the mild cases of Marfan syndrome, there's a lot of suffering involved. And
right.
I think more of a community for people with Marfan syndrome forming would be a good thing. But since it currently doesn't exist, at least not in a size or scope that's beneficial to the individual person suffering from it, that I think, just kind of having it on your heart, no pun intended about the fact that it affects the heart. But,
yeah, I was gonna say, dude, don't bring that up. The heart drop thing really got me. I was like crying, dude. Literally, I was like hiding it with my glasses. I was like, no.
But yeah, just don't forget us.
Yeah. It's there, guys. I'm sure that there's I'm sure it's just that like you said, it's just like you see someone with like an eye patch or in a wheelchair and you just think, oh, they're just they're just a disabled person, but it could be like Marfan syndrome or, but yeah.
You know what?
That was very well said. Mhm.
Actually, that's a better last message to leave people with. Eye patches are not just pirates.
There you go. If you
I
learned
think
anything today.
eye patches are still used for medical reasons.
Right.
I get that question like every week.
They just think it's a part of your persona or something.
Eye
Or
patch-
anime girl.
yes, that's the other one I've gotten is anime characters. Like,
Oh
no,
my gosh. You're just cosplaying every day at school and at work.
I definitely had people around school who thought I just wore it as a fashion thing. I'm like, no, why
Oh
would I
my
do
gosh.
that?
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. Space Age, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Okay. Slender, is there any groups, like any like charities or like organizations for more info that you've utilized for your condition, and your last message that you want people to remember about your condition as well? Wait, you're muted. Is that me? You're still muted. Wait, am I?
I don't hear him either.
Okay. Trip, tell me I'm not tripping, Trip. Come on. Oh, I hear it.
Is it working? Oh, there we go. Jeez.
Oh, nope. It went back.
I think it's working
No.
there.
I promise, guys, we're not doing this on purpose. No, Slender, come back. Okay, while we're waiting for Slender, I'll just go with mine. I want to plug the National Scleroderma Foundation. I've done charity work with them before. I'm also I'm always talking to the person who coordinates charity events and things like that. Little holiday cards that are so sweet.
1, 2. Can you guys hear me?
Oh yeah, we could.
Sorry.
Yeah, we could hear you. But the national. Okay. The National Scleroderma Foundation is a perfect place to learn about all things scleroderma. There's different forms of scleroderma too. So you guys hear me say I have linear scleroderma. That's way different than scleroderma. They're two different things. There's a branch. Scleroderma is like a tree, and there's a bunch of little branches of it. So if you guys want to learn more, I would definitely check out that link. Yeah, and just thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for listening and hearing us out and sticking around to hear all of our experiences. I think that's a big part of being an advocate and being an ally, is just listening and learning and being open-minded to these things. But yeah, also Slender, go ahead. Sorry, we were just waiting on you.
No, I figured, but I didn't also want to just cut you off or anything.
No, you're okay.
I don't know what happened to my technology today. It's been
You sound good now.
Definitely what Ash said. Thanks, Liz, for putting this together.
No, I had help by y'all. It was a group effort.
In terms of organizations and everything like that, I didn't really see much. It's very much all under one umbrella. I don't have everything, and I'll probably end up sharing it with you once I take out that information, and you can go ahead and spread it around if you'd like. But I guess my last message is just like Ashlina was mentioning before, you guys just be kind, be patient with people. Sometimes, at least for myself, mine's one of those invisible ones. For you guys, it's a little bit more prevalent. But we're all still humans. We all still feel the same type of emotions. It's important for us to, we might not agree with a lot of things, but just because we don't agree doesn't mean that we have to attack or make somebody else feel any less, It's important,
exactly.
It's important to be mindful of everyone. It's important to try and include everyone as much as we can. And from my condition, hey guys, this guy talks a lot. He jumps from place to place, and he'll come back eventually.
Right. They're used to that. Don't worry, they got me. I do that all the time too, Slender. But I agree. It's like you're no lesser than just because your disability is invisible. But yeah, you guys. Today we're here. We stand with the rare disease community to spread awareness, encourage y'all to do your research, understand and support each other. If you or someone you know has a rare disease, know that you are seen, you are valid, and you're never alone. I think that's like the main important part is that you're never alone. You're included. If you don't feel included anywhere, just know you're included here and you're always welcomed here. No matter what condition you have, no matter what you look like, no matter who you are. And just because the disease is rare doesn't mean that it should be overlooked, dismissed, and forgotten. That's like the most important thing and like the message that I want you guys to take with you today. Because getting like Trip and Slender and Ashley and everyone can agree with, but like we struggle with being misdiagnosed, the lack of research, no data, feeling unseen because our conditions aren't widely known. It sucks, but just know that you guys are not alone and we're here for you. And this is a safe space for you. And I know that Trip and Slender and Ashleyna both, like all of them, have safe spaces as well. Absolutely. Is there anything else? Yeah, is there anything else that you guys wanna say? Last words for real this time. Any goodbyes? None? Oh, if anyone has any questions, now would be the time to do it as well.
Now would be a good time for questions.
Sorry.
I was gonna say, how about plugging our socials and stuff like that? Would that be appropriate, I suppose?
Oh, yeah, of course, dude. If you guys want to put in chat right now, Trip and Slender, your guys' socials, like, please do.
Oh my gosh. I unpaused my bot so I could do that, and now it's just playing all the...
Oh my gosh. How did my socials do that? Why did my socials just come on? Oh, someone did exclamation mark socials.
Yeah, I unpaused my bot.
Sorry, that's also my command. My bad.
Purple Crystal in chat. I'm so happy that you're here. And like I remember the day that you came into my channel and was like, I have the same condition as you. Girl, the way my jaw was on the floor. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy because I literally never in my life have I met somebody who has it. Like, I remember when I went to the doctors, they were saying, because I was in California, they were like, oh, there's a kid in Texas about your age. He has the same condition in the same place as you, but that was really it. So it really made me feel like very happy that like we were able to find each other. But yeah, I still think about that day a lot, oddly enough. I hope that doesn't sound creepy or weird, but I appreciate you so much, gorgeous. Thank you for being here and thank you for being an ally and thank you for supporting ally. You literally have the same condition as me, but thank you for supporting and being here. ADHD and chronic fatigue and oh my God, you have fibro, Alice. I'm sorry you have to deal with that, but I'm so glad that you were able to be here and be a part of the conversation. And yes, you were seen. You were seen. Like I said, if anyone has any questions before we end this call here, we'll wait like another minute and then we'll be able to be on our way. I'm really like, this was so much easier than I thought. I know that I was kind of stressed out at first, y'all. What about you, Driven?
I was very stressed out, absolutely.
I was stressed out.
Also, I tried to do the shout out command for Slender Monk, but mine's not working.
Here, I could do it. I think it will show up on your stream, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've got the chats merged.
You guys are too kind.
Yeah, if you guys want to check out Slender Monk and Trip, it's AAA Gaming. Their names are on their thing right there, but also I'll plug them in the Discord as well for y'all. Like I'll put links to their channels and Ashleyna too. But yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Thank you for hearing our stories. Trip and Slender and Ashleyna, thank you guys so much for being here and putting up with my first panel and
you did a great job.
Oh, I appreciate that. I really appreciate y'all. But yeah, I'm gonna end the call now. I think does that just end the share screen and everything too?
Yep.
Once you end it.
It will when you hit the leave stream together.
All right, I'm gonna do that now, guys.
All right.
I'll miss you. Bye.
Bye. By the way, don't read into me.
Wait, Trip.
I know originally you were going to raid into me because I was going to keep going. since this went longer than planned, I'm gonna
Right.
raid out as well.
Okay, cool.
'Cause I'm exhausted.
Yeah,
All right, cool.
I have a panel. I mean, a panel. I have a meeting for class, so I'll talk to you guys later.
Goodbye.
Bye. Device. You can unlock. Nope. Oh, sources. Oops. La regle. What? All right, guys. For anybody that's still hanging out here in the stream, thanks, guys. Thanks for hanging out. You guys are all awesome. I do gotta. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, they all left. That's why I was all confused. Okay. Let me jump over here. Duh. Okay. Sorry, guys. You know me and tech issues, so appreciate everyone stopping in, hanging out. I do gotta go to do something with. I do have to go and what's the word? I do have to do something for class. I'll see about hopping back in here maybe in 2-3 hours. If I don't get any work, I'll try and get this work done, and then I'll be back definitely. So talk to you guys all later. Bye. Device. Watch me. By the way, exclamation point raid. Dude, really? Damn, that's mean.